presenting tonight's meeting virtually. The meeting is available to live stream via the Park District website, and all information about Park District meetings can be found at winpark.org under the Park District Info tab by selecting Board Meetings and Videos. Public comments are accepted in person. A link to the video and audio will be posted immediately following this evening's meeting. To improve the sound while listening to the meeting, please turn up the volume on your computer and turn up the volume on the website. And the meeting packet for tonight's meeting is located on the website. For those attending tonight's meeting, the emergency exits are behind you or through the doors on the right, through the foyer. To improve the quality of the sound, there's a boom microphone in this corner directed towards the commissioners, and the microphone will pick up additional audience noise right around it. So please keep that to a minimum. And if it's difficult to hear, please consider moving forward to the front row. Okay, so it's a business meeting, not a sporting event. We ask for your cooperation to maintain decorum. There's no clapping or booing, and please be considerate and refrain from interrupting board members and other speakers. We're a community coming together to discuss difficult issues in a civil and respectful fashion. Okay, seeing as it's now 6 o'clock, Lisa, would you like to lead us in the roll call?
Commissioner James.
Here.
Commissioner Lawson.
Here.
Commissioner Radcliffe.
Here.
Commissioner Roach.
Here.
Commissioner Seaman.
Here.
Commissioner Tyson.
Here.
Commissioner Coyle.
Here. Okay. We have a quorum. Calling to order the April 24th, 2025 regular board meeting. Pledge of Allegiance is the next order of business.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Shannon, public announcements.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Well, first off, I'd like to welcome Lisa Spagnoli, our new Administrative Operations Coordinator, to the team. We're very happy to have her, and welcome to your first meeting, Lisa.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right, a couple other things. So beach, dog, and boat launch passes are currently on sale. The early bird discount for beach passes will end on May 1st, so get in quick so you can take advantage of that. Also, our Winnetka Parks Foundation Tennis Tournament is on May 2nd, and registration is still open for that. The ice show is the 2nd and the 3rd, which ice show tickets can also be purchased at the Ice Arena, so make sure to do that. It's one of our signature events and a great one for the community. And then busy weekend ahead with Saturday, May 3rd being our summer kickoff event at Tower Beach from 10 a.m. to noon. So join the community in the annual beach cleanup along with story time from the Winnetka Library, our beach safe water safety scavenger hunt, and a lot more fun. And then finally, we're very happy to let everyone know that our summer brochure is out. We have added back a print option for the brochure, and it should be to mailboxes next week. Close to just over 6,900 went out to all the households, and we do have some at our facilities as well as here at the meeting, so all the commissioners have one at their spot, as well as there are some at the end of the table if anyone in the audience would like to pick one up today.
Great, thank you very much. Item 1.4, approval of tonight's agenda. Are there any requests for changes or additions to the agenda? And I do have one, adding 6.2 part-time and hourly wage scale to the consent agenda. Does anyone else have any changes?
I do. Madam Chair, I'm addressing this comment to Commissioner James and Commissioner Seaman. I'm asking that you consider removing item 6.4 from the agenda this evening in the interest of taking the high road.
That's a request. You can respond to that request, and then we can have a motion to approve it as amended. Yeah, go ahead. You can respond to that request.
I'd like to continue with the conversation. It's a discussion. So would I.
Okay. So we have a request to remove it. We have the people who have put it forth, keeping it on the agenda. There needs to be a motion, a second, and a vote if you want to remove it.
I simply wanted to give the two commissioners the option again to take the high road. They've chosen not to do that, and so we will continue. Thank you.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the April 24th agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, or as amended, excuse me, with 6.2 in consent. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. That is Warren James. And any further discussion of the agenda? That's a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Perfect. That was unanimous. Public comment. This is your opportunity to address the board on any issue. When called upon, please come to the center position in front of the commissioners and stand at the podium. Speak into the microphone. State your name for the record and speak directly to the board. Based on the public comment policy.
There's no sign-in sheet, and I went like this to you that we didn't sign in.
That's okay. That's fine. Based on the public comment policy described in the board policy manual and referenced in Public Access Counselor Opinion 2024, PAC 81900, guests may present public comment for no longer than 3 minutes after being recognized. If you prefer to share your comments in writing this evening, you may do so by leaving them with a member of the Park District staff. I'm going to go front row to back row. Raise your hand if you're in the front row and you'd like to speak at public comment. Please come forward.
Thank you. I think it was 2 years ago that I attended my first Park District.
Ready?
What?
Could you state your name?
Oh, yeah, Freddie Johnson on Spruce Street. But I think it was just over 2 years ago that I attended my first Park District Commissioner meeting. And since then, I've learned a great deal of the issues around the Park District. And recently campaigned, and although it didn't get the outcome that I would have preferred, really would like to express my gratitude for the support that our campaign got. And also just wanted to thank those that came out and voted, regardless of who they voted for. I truly believe that, two crucial factors that make a community strong are strong voter turnout and just civic engagement in general. I'm proud of the campaign that we ran. It was fact-based, it was community-driven, and really just, and despite, not winning, just such a rewarding experience. And then lastly, just wanted to congratulate Elise and Scott and Colleen on their election. I wish you guys nothing but the best, and really think that, and really just hope that the Park District thrives over the next 4 years, as well as the Park District employees. And then also just want to thank all of you as commissioners for the time that you guys put in. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the front row? Please raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Okay. Is there anyone in the second row that would like to speak? Please raise your hand. Please come forward.
Thank you. Linda Welch. The residents of Winnetka elected Colleen in a Democratic election. In addition, Colleen was vetted and appointed for the Park Board by the caucus. Now, 3 members of this board want to censure her. In other words, I believe you want to subvert the democratic process. Winnetka voters expect Colleen to represent them fully. Certain board members want to restrict her ability to fully do her job. I believe that this censuring distracts from the work at hand and does not make you look like a united board. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Would anyone else in the second row like to speak? Second row, please come forward.
Susie Schreiber, Winnetka Park District resident from the Hubbard Woods area. And congratulations to all of you who won your election. And, you know, I look forward to working with you in the future. I want to thank the staff for preparing the very high-quality audio investigation and report. You did a really good job, and it's very evident to me over many years, and particularly in this room, that you really do need what you're suggesting, and I hope the current commissioners address it in a positive way this evening. Secondly, the E. coli testing, I also concur, and I know that as an extra budget addition, but in the last 24 to 48 hours, I too have checked on the E. coli testing, which I am very unfortunately aware of along the entire Illinois, Lake Michigan shoreline for the past 30 years. And that too, I hope the whole board supports the addition and the funding. From what I can gather from sources that are rather well placed in the state of Illinois, the place that you, or the contractor you are working with at the University of Illinois is the only contractor that is doing anything correctly and right. So please, please consider going forward with that. And this is from comments throughout the state and with the bit of disarray that our governance is in. But you will get accurate information from that. And following that, I hope that we can work with you and make sure that the Waukegan buoy and the Wilmette buoy both have the same data information on it, so you can add the Wilmette buoy data, and Warren, this might be particularly interesting to you, on how they're doing things up in Lake County, because when they get the wave action on day of and hour of, it's whether it's churning up past things from 80 years that have been released, and it's churning up and coming forward. So I just want to add that if you were not aware of that particular fact. And then a third thing, we did lose a pope in Rome this past week, and the flags need to be at half-mast. And yes, we were up at the monument working on Memorial Day later this afternoon, and those of us up there did lower that flag, but could you make sure that when something significant happens, we are not behind? District 36 flags are all down, and just please. And I would echo everybody who's has made or will made comments that please go forward and just put things to rest, go forward, and there's nothing more that needs to be said. You need to go forward and follow your own instructions that Christina reads at every meeting. Please be respectful, cheerful, honest, and hey, we all disagree on some things, but just go forward. You're all capable people and you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Row 3, raise your hand if you'd like to speak in public comment. Please come forward.
I'll go so I can go get something to eat because I have not eaten today.
What did it say?
I'm just gonna go first so I can get something to eat because I'm hungry. Hi, Ted Winichenko. So a few things that I wanted to bring up. First, you know, with the exception of one, you all are Winnetka Caucus slated candidates, right? And you all agreed to support the caucus's positions. And so I am troubled. Is this an ethical issue? I mean, did you lie then? Are you lying now? But the question is the caucus has a plank that was approved by the caucus that the donation agreement with Mr. Ishbia be renegotiated. And I see no movement on that. It's been months, since November, that the caucus put out that plank. Why is it that all the ethical people here who agreed to support the caucus are not doing something to move forward with that renegotiation? In addition, sorry, there is this agenda item about discussions of ethical behaviors, right? And it's troubling to me, right? Because first of all, one of the primary things that you all agree to is to support the Constitution of the state of Illinois and the U.S. Constitution. And one of the founding tenets, the right from which all other rights derive, is the right to free speech. And while it's titled a discussion on ethics, the note from the executive director talks about that this is about considerations of the dissemination of information. In other words, speech by one person. So are we now suggesting that speech that is unliked by a group of people should be an ethical problem? Because I would then point out that every meeting, you guys point out PAC 224-8900 or whatever, and you misstate what the Attorney General said in it. It's a distortion of what the PAC said. So is that a problem ethically? Should you not be saying that? Is that a politically driven statement? It's troubling to me. And so this brings me to my final thing. I feel that the biggest ethical problem that this board experienced was the secret meeting that it held last year to come to a consensus before discussing something in public. And I am well aware that the PAC has chosen not to issue a binding opinion or to say anything about it. And I've been on the fence about what I should do, because I really believe that that is a problem, that the public access counselor, essentially said that what you need is to have simultaneous meetings when the statute clearly shows contemporaneous things. And I appreciate you putting item 6.4 on there, because I had 60 days from that non-binding determination to decide whether I was going to file suit. And I think I've decided that I'm going to bring this to the county department division. And I believe that you guys violated the OMA last year, and I think we need a court to weigh in and decide whether or not the Attorney General was correct. So it'll be fun. The last time I went to court was a few years ago. And, I think it'll be an interesting experience. I'll enjoy getting discovery to see all the documents. Have a nice day.
Thank you for your public comment. Is there anyone else in the third row?
Mary. I think they should arm wrestle.
Good evening. My name is Mary Garrison. The current Winnetka Park District Board has been criticized many times for a lack of transparency. Part of this criticism is due to allowing only one time for the public to speak to the board with a stringent 3-minute time limit. Our village council has 1 or 2 public comment periods at the council meetings, depending on the subject matter. The audience members who wish to address the council about an agenda item under consideration will have the opportunity to make comments and ask questions after the presentation by staff and the interested parties. The audience members who wish to address the council about any other matter not on the agenda for consideration may do so only during the public comment at the beginning of the meeting. I would ask that you or the incoming board revisit the issue of transparency and allow the public to feel comfortable in expressing to you, our elected officials, any Park District concerns, both negative and positive. So why am I bringing this up? Tonight, I am interested in listening and speaking, if necessary, to the bullet point 6.4 on the Park District agenda. I do have another concern, and that is about safety. It appears that Winnetka Park District is faced with a monster safety issue at the lakefront. There have been many pictures circulated at board meetings showing dangerous debris in the shallow waters at the beaches. The board and the staff are aware of the debris. The staff was empowered to begin removal of the debris in January of this year, 2025. This removal of the debris is critical. The Winnetka Park District Policy Manual is very specific, stating that safety is a priority at the Winnetka Park District. Please do not let this slip by as we are approaching the opening of our beaches, including the proposed opening of Elder Beach. One final piece of information. In neighboring Wilmette, Gilson Beach is for swimming. The Gilson Cove is now, and that's right to the south of Gilson Beach, will not permit swimming. and the adjacent southern dog beach will allow dogs off leash. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Please come forward.
Kim Marsh, 360 Forest Street. Can everybody hear me okay? I am the proud author of this poster that I put up on March 19th after learning that there was a possibility that the dog beach would close. For those of you who didn't see it, it relates to this item 6.4 on the agenda. I basically did what the Park District should have done, which is notify stakeholders, people who love the dog beach, about the possibility that it would be closing, that was one of the possible ways that this board would decide. And so on March 19th, I wrote it, I took it up to FedEx and got it laminated because it was a rainy day, and I attached it. My purpose was to encourage Dog Beach pass holders to attend the 3/20/25 board meeting and protest the possible closing. I did not post Colleen's email, and my notice was not even, with my notice, and I was not even aware of it, as I do not check my email on a daily basis and do not know if I ever received that email. Alan Welch reviewed my notice on 3/19/25 and suggested minor changes. I claim full ownership of this notice and refute any suggestion that anyone else was involved. Alan Welch will vouch for me. In no way was my independent act affiliated with the Root Garrison Julison Slate's publicity, nor did they even know of my decision to alert Dog Beach pass holders about the possible closing to be discussed at the 3/20 meeting. I'm proud of my work product and invoke my right to be free from viewpoint discrimination under the First Amendment. I ask that a copy of my notice and my remarks tonight be included in today's minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for your public
I don't know
comment.
who I give it to.
That's fine. Thank you for your public comment. We're in the third row.
I'm in the second.
I know.
I needed to follow Kim.
Okay. Please come forward.
I'll be quick. I'm Alan Welch. I'm a Winnetka resident. I want to reiterate what Kim Marsh's statements were tonight. The notice attributed to Colleen Root was shown to me by Kim prior to posting. I fully support Kim in writing and posting the notice that said the dog beach was in jeopardy. Any attribution of that document to Colleen is baseless and lacks credibility. It is in fact a lie designed to suppress alternate viewpoints. And what do we know about lies? If you tell a lie, often enough it becomes the truth. Well, not here. Let's work together on cleaning up Elder. While we're at it, let's clean up Dog Beach. I hope this new board will see its way to follow the community's wishes and not some hidden agenda.
Thank you for your public comment. Please come forward.
Joanna Karatzis. Excuse me. Okay, well, on that note, without a shred of evidence, Commissioners James and Seaman have placed an item on tonight's agenda accusing Commissioner Root of planting signs with a message that they didn't like at the Dog Beach back in March. By indulging Commissioners Root, James, and Seaman, the board wastes the public's time. This is the same board that has taken away the time from its citizens by curtailing their time for reaction and comments in recent months. Eliminating comments at the end of WP meetings when the content of the board meeting is fresh in all of our minds diminishes the public process. Stop wasting time censoring Commissioner Root. Restore comments at the end of the board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. The last row. I think we're in the last row. Come forward.
Good evening, my name is Peggy Marte, and I'm here representing Angie Dahl. Angie Dahl is an over 40-year resident of Winnetka. She's a former member of the Planning Commission, and she's a former president of the Park District. So I'd like to read her letter, please. 1 year ago, I appeared before the board to express my concerns about the unprecedented censure of a fellow board member. I believed then, as I do now, that the action taken to censure a particular commissioner was unwarranted, unnecessary, and unproductive. Over the past 4 years, I've attended numerous meetings of the Park Board. I continue to be appalled at the number of personal attacks, the lack of civility, the use of profanity, and general rudeness of elected officials during public meetings. No effort is made by board leadership to address and discourage this behavior. Indeed, the board's leadership in many instances encourages and perpetuates this behavior. It continues to astound many in the community that members of this board continue this petty, vindictive, self-serving behavior, especially when this board and its leadership is conspicuously unwilling to review the questionable behavior of all current and recent commissioners and to hold themselves to the same standards. It is time for this board to put aside the continued personal attacks, diatribes, and retribution seeking actions against another elected official. When the newly elected caucus supported board members are seated in May, I fervently hope that this board will treat one another with the professional courtesy and mutual respect with which previous boards conducted themselves for more than 30 years. The constant, divisive, petty, and frankly embarrassing actions taken by recent park boards are tiresome and old. Please get on with the business of the Park District. A good start would be a change in leadership, which would be welcomed by the community. The Winnetka community deserves nothing less. Please end the sophomore grade school behavior. Angie Dahl. And could I give a copy of this to you? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your public comment.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katie Stevens, and I'm hoping the campaigning issue is about you, Christina, because I did read a letter that you wrote supporting Scott Corley and Duda, and not your own board member on this board. And so I'm hoping 6.4 is about you tonight and not someone else. Your board member deserved better support. So should you be censured? I don't know, let's vote over here. Is the campaign issue on because you're campaigning? I hope so. You know, the Supreme Court encourages healthy dialogue, and they have dissenting opinions. And I would hope you'd listen and have healthy discussions, but your accusations and all the things that you're saying about different people are not healthy discussions. They're mean, they're cruel, they're unbelievably rude and condescending. And I take offense to the behavior of this board and the past board. You guys have had tunnel vision, you've had one plan, I'm not even sure if it's your plan, and there's been no deviation for 5 to 7 years. Nothing can change your mind, it's one way. After the design review board turned you down 7-0 and the plan commission, you went back with one minor change after 84 questions were given to you. It was your way or the highway one more time. You're trying to subvert the democratic process. Warren, you and Mr. Murdoch, I believe we're trying to manage the Wilmette Harbor. Is this what we're doing? Are we doing a harbor? Are we going to do a harbor with this gigantic monstrosity of a pier? Is it an event space? Is it a harbor? We deserve to know. We're getting 17 stories of rocks on the beach, 167 feet of rocks horizontally, and we're gaining 78 feet if the swap were to take place. Are we leaving it better than we found it? You tell me. It certainly doesn't appear so.
Thank you for your public comment. Is there anyone else in the last row who'd like to speak? Please come forward.
Steve Juliuson, 1436 Asbury, and last place candidate in the election. So, thank you. Thank you for your support. I think, I don't really have a big love for the dog beach. Our dog doesn't like the dog beach, as I said before. But I know people are very intense about it, and I think that's what drove Colleen to do it because, some of her friends really love the dog beach. Face it, there are a lot of votes maybe, in a tight election, but to me this is just information, and these have turned into like a Barney Fife moment, I think, where Commissioner James has decided to unilaterally go and pull something down that he didn't like. I'm not sure that's really legal. I think if it's posted improperly, then I guess he could take it down, but it's really not the province of a commissioner. It should be done by someone on the staff. And I think this is a very trivial thing that we should, demeans the whole board, and you guys all look bad and it looks stupid. It's a bad way to go out. I would think you should reconsider that before we get to that part of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? It hasn't spoken. I think we did have some people come in after the timing. You can raise your hand. Okay. All right. With that, we'll close public comment. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. Without objection or request for the removal of any specific item from the consent agenda for individual consideration, we will act on the following items with a single vote. Item 3.1, item 3.2, item 3.3, item 3.4, item 3.5, item 3.6, item 3.7, and item 6.2. Does anyone wish to have any item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing no requests to remove, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
That's Root and Tyson.
Lawson.
Oh, Lawson, excuse me.
Hiding back here, sorry.
Yes, sorry. May I have, that's a roll call vote, Lisa.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rupp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyle?
Yes. Thank you very much. Item 4, presentations. 4.1, the Winnetka Parks Foundation Annual Plan. PK Wilson, please come forward. Thank you.
All right. Oh, thank you. Okay, how's everybody? Thank you. Yep, all right. So 2025 Winnetka Parks Foundation Annual Plan. Let's see, we're gonna go through our goals. So goal 1, community engagement awareness. We're still kind of, need to let people know that we're out here and what we do. Establish and strengthen partnerships, increase the number of active board members. Again, our number one thing, please, anybody who wants to help raise money for the Winnetka Park District, we need you. We're still at 4. And then our other goal is raise a minimum of $5,000 for voting director. So our outreach opportunities, I've got a few notes here. So January through May, we'll do a family skate and our tennis tournament, which will be on May 2nd. The focus will be to kick off the year with community-centered events and build early momentum for donor and sponsor engagement. June to August, we'll have the Farmers Market, July 4th, another family skate, and the end of summer luau. Our focus there is to high traffic outreach, visibility, perfect for sponsorship activation and donor cultivation. September to December, our key events are the golf outing, which will be August 22nd, excuse me. The Bike Winnetka Fall Fest, tree lighting, and another family skate. We hope to have a strong finish with the year-end giving campaign and strategic fundraising through special events. Let's see here. Now we've got fundraising initiatives, special events and sponsorships, giving campaigns, and grant applications. to talk a little bit more specifically about those. Tennis, pickleball, and golf tournaments as revenue-generating activities. Business partnerships for events and park sponsorship opportunities. The giving campaigns, which are year-end giving, September through December, with a focused message on park improvements and programming. Online fundraising is a key for days on Giving Tuesday, supported by social media and email pushes. And then grant applications are ongoing, applying for foundation grants aligned with specific community or capital improvement projects. Let's see here. Marketing and community engagement, social media campaigns. We're looking to, I've become an admin for the Facebook, so hopefully we'll get a little bit more on there. Ongoing campaigns, promoting events, sponsor shout outs, donor spotlights, and impact updates. That's what we're going to focus for social media. Email newsletters, we'll do monthly updates to keep donors, volunteers, and community engaged and informed. Community outreach, collaborations with schools, local businesses, and community organizations to spread the word and increase volunteer engagement. One example of that would be partnering with local schools to promote July 4th, or like the tree lighting event, stuff like that. Board recruitment and engagement. Still actively seeking members, if anybody's looking. We've got a few people on the board that hopefully we can, but we're working on it again. We'll have hopefully a recruitment packet ready with clear expectations and benefits for the service of the board. We'll do outreach and networking, hosting small information gatherings or virtual events, engaging personal and professional networks to recruit community leaders. Onboarding and engagement, we'll do comprehensive orientation, mentorship from current members, setting clear first-year goals for new members to contribute meaningfully. So overall, our mission is to just keeping on to enrich community life through the parks, whether it's raising $5,000 per director, hosting unforgettable events, or deepening local partnerships. We're trying to build and make an impact. That's our whole plan. Any questions or concerns?
I just want to say thank you to the Fearsome Foursome. I know that you've leveraged your talents broadly to create some kickoff signature events, and I think I hope I speak for the entire board when I say we appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I have one question. How many directors do you have?
There's 4 of us. Yeah.
And the second question is, are you requesting any help from the Park District? I know in the past, when I was on the board previously, some of the work of the foundation was...
Oh, the staff is wonderful.
Okay,
They're very incredibly helpful.
So they're okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
We are very much involved in helping with the marketing and getting the logistics for some of the events organized, so like the golf outing and the tennis tournament, getting everything scheduled, those types of things. Elisa and her team are very involved with the foundation and as well as our marketing team.
We wouldn't be able to do it without it. It wouldn't get done.
Thank you very much. Any other, sorry, I just jumped the gun in terms of comments. Looking around. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, PK. We appreciate your efforts. Moving on to item number 5, unfinished business. 5.1, the D'Amico Family Foundation donation. Would you like to come through? We have a memo from Shannon, and I think we have the family here.
You can come up, Lauren. Yes. So as far as the foundation donation goes, in your, let's see, do we have it in there? Okay, so with this donation agreement, and I'll let Ms. Laidley give a little bit more information about this, but we've worked closely with her and her family to look at options for a scoreboard here at Skokie Playfield, and thank you to Commissioner Lusson for connecting us all together so we can help make this happen. I think it would be a great addition to the community for the field out here, and a great way to honor Luke. So, but I'll let Lauren say a couple words if she would like.
Okay, sorry.
Hello, good evening. I had the opportunity to speak with most of you in December, but for those who weren't in attendance at that meeting, I wanted to briefly introduce myself again. My name is Lauren Laidley, and I have been a Winnetka resident for 6 years. My late husband, Luke, and I chose to move to Winnetka in 2019 because we saw it as a beautiful community to raise our now 3 children. We were drawn to all the amazing amenities, the parks, the beaches, the sports programs. We quickly immersed ourselves in all that Winnetka had to offer. The unimaginable happened on July 4th, 2023, when my husband died by drowning in Lake Michigan while trying to help a group of children who fell off a boating tube. Our world came crashing down, but the Winnetka community came rallying around us and lifted us up with their love, support, and prayers. The Skokie Playfield has always been a popular haunt for us, spending the majority of our weekdays and weekends there. I remember having more than one conversation with Luke about how, gee, wouldn't it be nice if the playfield actually had a scoreboard? Soon after Luke died, my children's school, Faith, Hope, and Charity, dedicated one of their football games to my husband. My boys got to be ball boys, and my daughter was a cheerleader. Our team ended up winning that night, and the final score was 22-14 or something. But the significance of it was that Luke's favorite number was 22. And I'm not that familiar with football, but I think that's not like the easiest score to get to, 22. I remember that night thinking, gosh, that would have been so neat to see his number lit up on a scoreboard. From that night, I knew a scoreboard in Luke's honor at the Skokie Playfields would be the perfect way to give back to our community who has so graciously given us so much, as well as honoring Luke and his love and passion for youth sports. With your approval in December, I've had the pleasure of working closely with Costa and Shannon to bring together this beautiful vision. I would like to thank them both for the time, research, and hard work they've dedicated to this special project over the last 4 months. I've enjoyed our partnership, and I look forward to fully executing our vision, the scoreboard, together. I would also like to thank Eric Lesson. Eric was the first person I came to with my idea for the scoreboard. He sprang into action right away. His unwavering support helped this project and this vision become a reality. I want to leave you all with this. Luke was a survivor of 9/11. He lived his life to the fullest for the 22 years he was given after 9/11. Whenever anyone would ask him about being in the World Trade Center on that day, he would always wrap up each conversation with, count your blessings and become a part of something that's greater than yourself. So tonight, I'm counting my blessings, and I'm hoping a new scoreboard at the Skokie Playfield in Luke's honor will continue his legacy and will continue to allow him to be a part of something that's greater than himself. Thank you. And I guess if there's questions about the donation agreement, I'm here to answer those too. And I don't know if do we have a picture of the rendering?
We're going to be talking about that at the next agenda.
Okay, great.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
So the first part of this, so there are 2 separate items on the agenda in relation to this. The first one would be the donation agreement, which would set in place the funding to be able to award the project. So that is the first piece that would need to be done first if we would agree to that agreement. And this has been reviewed by the D'Amico Family Foundation as well as our council as far as the donation agreement goes. So we'll take any questions you have on that item first before we move on to the...
So, may I have a motion to approve the donation agreement and approve a budget adjustment of $60,000 to 10-1200-0000-60029 field renovations for the purpose of purchasing and installing a scoreboard at Skokie Playfield?
So moved.
Second.
Second, James. Discussion, questions? It's a beautiful description you gave, very complete, clearly. May I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Lesson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Koto?
Yes. Commissioner James?
Commissioner Baines?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now moving on to item 5.2.
One question.
Sorry, sure.
Oh, maybe it's in 5.2. When do you think it could get done?
Sure, we'll cover that in
Okay.
5.2.
Okay, moving on to 5.2, Skokie Playfield
I'm already
Scoreboard
thinking of the
Approval
party.
and Award.
Yeah.
There you go, this is, Costa, take it away.
Christina, thank you. And Lauren, thank you, of course. This wouldn't, we couldn't make this happen without your contribution and, remembering your husband, so this is fantastic. 5.2 covers basically the scoreboard. Here's a rendering from Siebert Electric, who is one of the local reps for Daktronics, is the scoreboard company that we identified to be best suited to handle this project for us. After doing some due diligence with local community members, essentially New Trier High School, looking at their programs and what they have and uses of their scoreboards, along with North Shore Country Day, and reading and talking to the different reps for the different scoreboards, we felt that the one that's here in front of you on the screen this evening from Siebert Electric captured best not only the intent of what we were trying to achieve, but also should fit within the community restraints through the special use, in this case, certificate of appropriateness that we'll need to go after to get this qualified. So the intent for this evening is to move forward with the project as it's shown, to move forward with this definitive scoreboard as it's rendered here, and take that to community development and present that to our design and review board for a certificate of appropriateness to make sure that it can be approved through that process. And at that point, barring any changes or suggestions that they might have, we would come back to the park board with a recommendation to execute on that proposal, essentially taking that and moving forward with the execution. The way I have the motion drafted up here this evening, I have it contingent upon approval of the village, special use village approval process to move forward with authorization with Siebert Electric through the Sourcewell Co-op to purchase and install the scoreboard as you see it here this evening. Now, once again, barring any changes that we might come across through the community development or suggestions they might have, that would be the only change that might come out of this. Eric, to your question as far as timing, if we can get through that process fairly quick, we're hopeful we can get in front of them either in May or June, get the scoreboard on order. The turnaround time or installation, we're trying to coincide this with the installation of the turf field this late summer in August, early September, and then try to do a grand opening and kickoff simultaneously with both projects is our objective.
And what I would remind too for both the board and the public, by using the Sourcewell Cooperative, that is already a competitively bid program for purchasing of these types of items. So it would not be subject to bidding as normally with an RFP or something of that source. So this has already been competitively bid by Sourcewell.
Costa, what's the approximate date for the turf renovation?
We're looking to bring that in front
Replacement, excuse me.
Sure, we're looking to bring that in front of the board in May, and then hopefully late August is when we're looking to execute on that.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the proposed scoreboard design as presented, allowing staff to present this design to the Village of Winnetka for approval through a certificate of appropriateness?
So moved.
Upon approval, village approval, staff seeks authorization to contract with Siebert Electric for an amount not to exceed $60,000 through the Sourcewell Co-op for the purchase and installation of the scoreboard at the Skokie Playfield site. We have a motion from Lawson. Do we have a second? From Tyson, and that's a roll call vote.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kodo?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Lesson?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, it looks like we're on our way.
Thank you so much.
I think
Thank
it's a
you.
very handsome sign.
Yeah, I
It's a
do.
very
I know.
sweet,
Yeah.
remembrance.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Item 5.3, Costa, you have quite a lineup here.
Christina, thank you. As everybody's aware, Coralline Woods construction site, we ran into some issues through the wrap-up of the restoration efforts last year. We've been working with the village on the best way to correct that issue, and that work has been taking place. To date, the contractor has stripped out the 6 inches of fill material that was brought in last season, the top fill. That has all been removed from the site. Today,
Executive Director Nizal and I had met out there with our consultant from GEI, along with Village and a member from the construction company, Mark DeMeo himself, as well as a member of Strand Engineering, to review the site and review the project. Barring a few slight comments that we had in regards to the restoration efforts, we feel that, and our consultant feels that the work that has been completed to date is complementary to what we had requested and what was reviewed with the original memo from the park board as it was approved back in January. We're going to be looking to continue moving forward. Their efforts are going to start bringing in topsoil as early as tomorrow, and they're going to continue backfilling that site with turf restoration following the next week. We hope to have the site completely turfed in regards to the sod and the little delineation of the wetland area seeded as well over the course of the next 2 weeks. From there are approximately about 30 days of watering that the contractor will be required to complete. And then from there, depending if there's any issues with burn off or anything else, hopefully it can go smoothly, then that will be turned over to the park district and we will maintain moving forward. If there's any questions I can answer to the park board this evening, I'd be glad to.
Any questions? I do have one. Oh, go ahead.
No, Cynthia, no, go ahead. Do we have a date for when we will feel comfortable? Do we have a date for when we'll feel comfortable accepting reservations for Crow Island Woods with the new area open, or the renovated area reopened, I guess?
We're shooting for probably around July 4th is when we would feel comfortable, but it could be sooner than that. And we just, we don't want to overplay the hand just in case there's any complications with the Berlin.
Okay.
Or in this case, the side itself.
Excellent.
They also have a schedule for watering that they'll be doing as well. So 30 days, I believe.
Correct.
That was my question.
Okay. Go ahead and make your comment. I do have a question.
I've been out to the site a couple of times while the restoration work is going on. President Rintz promised to do the right thing, and it appears it is happening. There was a lot of glass out there. Even after the removal of the 6-inch topsoil, I saw a crew picking a lot of glass that was below that. It's unfortunate that we were compelled to engage counsel and an outside consultant to seek the appropriate corrective action, but hopefully with sod restoration May, we'll be able to actively use the park this summer. So grateful that it's finally getting done. Sorry it took this long.
My only question was, the school's portion is also complete, as I understand. Their portion had to go first geographically before ours.
It's not complete, but it's underway. So
Okay.
they reviewed the site with the contractor, I believe it was Tuesday afternoon. They passed, and the contractor has already started spreading topsoil on their site. The restoration for the sod is going to be essentially east to west. So they're going to, after they get done on the school's portion, they're going to replant and revegetate the berm, and then they're going to be working the sod basically east to west, working their way out to Euclid. So as their work goes underway with Christy Weber for the planting of the berm, topsoil will be spread at Park District property, final grading will be completed, and then they'll start laying sod later next week or early the following week, working east to west out to Euclid and then completing the project.
Okay, great. That sounds great. It's nice. It'll be nice to have that asset back in the portfolio. Item 5.4.
Your mic, can you talk into your mic?
Sure. Oh, sorry. It'll be nice to have that asset back in the portfolio. Thank you. Item 5.4. I didn't miss any questions, right? Okay. Item 5.4, Elder Lane and Centennial Park Project Plan Update. COSTA.
Christina, thank you again. As it's prepared in the memorandum in the packet, a couple different things to update for the park board as it relates to a few different tasks and projects that are ongoing with Elder and Centennial. First and foremost is the submission for the Plan Commission. Unfortunately, due to the lack of a quorum for the meeting that was proposed for yesterday or last evening, that has been rescheduled to May 28th. Right now, I have been notified that you have a minimum quorum for that meeting. So as the date draws near, we'll see where that, as that timeline comes together, if that's still on or if there's any changes at that time, we'll notify the board accordingly. In the meantime, we also did put a request into the village community development department to try to release, or in this case, distribute the materials that they have received from the original meeting back in February. I believe that was on the 23rd or the 28th. Don't quote me on that date. But then also the second meeting that we rescheduled, or was rescheduled here yesterday, to present the materials to the Plan Commission ahead of time, so they can have that those materials ahead of time to be able to review that, since it's been a few months since our last review of the project with them at the community, or at the Village Hall. So that was a request that went over to them today, and I received a request or a answer back from Ann Clausen that they will take the request under consideration. So we'll let you know depending if that happens or not, but we did request that information to be distributed again ahead of the next Plan Commission.
Okay.
Addition to that, staff have been working with the IDNR and the Army Corps as it relates to the cleanup efforts for the project sites in regards to opening the beaches now and getting them cleaned up. Unfortunately, we did run into a little bit of an issue with the Army Corps of Engineers. There is a requirement for review because of the age of the structure of the Elder Lane Pier, since it's over 75 years old, the State Historical Society has to review that site to make sure that they are comfortable with us removing the last 20 feet, in this case the damaged portion of the pier, and only that portion of the pier at this time. That review went underway about a week and a half ago. They have 30 days to review that information. Fortunately enough, when we had submitted our plans originally a few years ago, we had to complete a phase 1 archaeological review of the site. So we already had that documentation completed. Unfortunately, it has a 2-year lifespan, if you will, so it has surpassed that 2 years, so they need to re-review it. We're hopeful that the re-review, taking into consideration they have already opined on this once and approved it, that they'll be able to turn this around in fairly short order, and the Army Corps can go ahead and give us authorization to move forward. We already had authorization from the IDNR, so that'll allow us to then continue moving forward. We have received proposals back for the work. A range in costs. Unfortunately, the costs are higher than what we can do with just getting bids. So we're going to have to put out a bid notice for that. I've been working on a bid package for that we will release, but we can't release that until we actually have the information to know if the scope's potentially going to change or not, depending on the direction we get from the Corps. So we'll have that queued up ready to go out as soon as we get that information back. So that's where we're at with the cleanup efforts for Elder and Centennial. As we continue moving forward, the other item that we were discussing was the Centennial Dog Beach. We have received information back in regards to those questions that we had asked to both the IDNR and the Army Corps. They have directed us to submit a formal permit application. The permit application has now been completed. As of today, I received the drawings that I needed to send off to them. Shannon signed off on the permit application, and we're going to be sending that out tomorrow. So we'll get that in as well, so we'll be working on that front as well. So we have all items in play working towards the project to try to address everything that the board has given staff direction to continue moving forward.
Got a lot on your plate.
Quick question on that. Is that for the temp fence?
For the temporary fencing, correct, yes. Not the fencing identified in the plan submittal, but to make a dog beach and true off-leash dog beach to meet the requirements for Cook County Animal Control Ordinance.
And we have made the request as well to the village to be able to provide them as much of the information as possible right now regarding the cleanup, to hopefully be able to start that process so we're not waiting as long. Once we get an okay from the Army Corps, we're not starting from scratch then with the village. So we are working through that process right now, as well with the fence for the dog beach. We have to submit that information to Cook County as well, so we are in the process of that as well. Our understanding still with the village is that for the change of use from on-leash to off-leash, officially on paper, that we do have to go through a change of use with the special use permit.
Okay, yeah, it's lengthy. I'm going to go around the circle for questions for Costa regarding item 5.4. Commissioner Root.
Do you want to go first? Okay.
Looking at Elder, and having listened to your report here, thank you for that.
what is your guesstimate as to when this work would be done as far as the cleanup, repair, this may have been your question, David, and possible opening of Elder Beach?
We talked about a couple different options on how to get the beach open, whether it would be open for beach only or open for beach and swimming. We haven't really fully vetted out those two options. I would say right now, to get the beach safe and to open it in regards to swimming, that probably will be more realistic a timeline at some point in July, at the absolute earliest, depending on when we get information back and we submit to the village, receive that information back, and then get contractors through the bidding process. That will take a little bit of time.
Understood.
In regards to the opportunity to open the beach, where the beach only without swimming with the known hazards and fencing off the hazards in regards to the pier and other things, there's the possibility of moving that forward, and what that might look like exactly, I'm not quite sure, but we did talk through some of those options, and we are currently working through those options as well to address that.
Yeah, and we've talked to Paderma about our risk management agency on what we may be able to do in regards to allowing beach or sand access, I'm going to call it. So there are certain things that we would have to put up in regards to signage and those types of things, because there is a concern of allowing people in the area with known hazards. So that's something that we have to be careful about, and making sure that the board understands the risks associated with that.
I have a,
May I make one further comment? One of our jobs as commissioners, as you know, is listening to the public. And I have had multiple meetings with concerned moms, one who actually broke down at coffee and cried because they are very concerned that their kids are going to be down there when the weather's nice, like today. No matter what, they're going to be there. And so I guess the question is, what can be done to keep the kids off the pier, out of the water now, while we're trying to kind of work all of the pieces that have to fall into place, so we can alleviate these concerns. I mean, two of these ladies went to the village last Tuesday, and they gave some pretty compelling comments, if you happen to watch the tape or actually were there.
I was there.
So then you heard them.
Yes, and it's understandable, the concern that some folks would have. From our perspective, looking at what the park district is offering up as those solutions for safety, or we are signing and putting up fencing to notify people of those hazards. So at this point right now, we are doing what we need to do, as far as there is a fence that goes across, there is signage that says the beach is closed. That is it the best solution to ensure people that aren't following the rules are following the rules? No, because people may go out and not follow the rules that are posted. As far as what we are able to do as staff, and we've had these conversations with Paderma, what do we do in these instances? Do we have beach attendants out there to make sure that people aren't getting in the water? Do we have lifeguards out there to make sure people aren't getting in the water? Do we add additional signage? What do those things look like? So those are conversations we're still having with Paderma, because it's a situation, it's a not normal situation. So it's a tough one to make sure that we're protecting the public and the interests of the park district all at the same time.
Okay. I think Commissioner Seaman was next.
There was some consideration to just opening the beach while closing off the water access, which seems really silly, but I assume that would require a fence on the beach. So my question is, to put a fence on the beach that would be, I guess, parallel to the water, that's what I would envision. I'm assuming that we would have to go through the same wonderful process that we're going through on fences on Centennial. Would that be your estimation or your?
Once again, as Shannon kind of described, we are working through Padurma on how to best isolate whether it's the sand only open or if it's full.
Well, I'm just saying if it's sand only
I think that
open,
we would do a fence along the shoreline parallel to it.
we would just post a sign,
We
don't
would
go in the
have
water.
Signage
Or staff
identified
it.
or staffed available.
I think that's, I just think that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. To have the beach open, I'm one commissioner. God, listen, kids are going down there. I agree with Commissioner Root and comments from the public. We gotta make it really hard for people to get on Elder Beach until it's been safe enough. I want Elder open. Everybody wants it open, but we gotta be very thoughtful if we're only going to open the beach. Only open the sand area and then close off water access.
Right, okay.
My thought.
Commissioner Tyson?
Costa, thanks for your update. Question regarding the cleanup effort. And I'm just trying to picture the sequence of events to get us to that point where we can actually pull the trigger and make it happen. Understand IDNR, understand Army Corps working through what you mentioned there. When and where does the village come into this?
So the village would fall in as far as the lakefront construction permit, which our requirement is to submit both the IDNR and the Corps' approval on the work so that they would start their review. It's been discussed that they're willing to take a look at our materials, but they won't opine on it until we have those two documents in place and turned over to the village in regards to approval from those two agencies. So we'll have the approval from the Corps or the IDNR, which we have already. We'll have hopefully within the next 2 weeks thereabouts, approval from the Corps, and then at that point in time, we can submit our application to the village, or if we're able to, as I suggested, we will try to do ahead of time, which we plan on, for their internal review, and then they can opine on it and then give us a determination on whether or not they would allow us to move forward with our cleanup efforts, which the meetings that we've had, I feel that it shouldn't be a big issue, but I can't say that they've agreed to anything at this point in time. They understand what our efforts are.
And when you say application, is this a
Lakefront
different?
construction permit application.
Okay, not the special use
Nope.
permit process.
Totally independent. It's its own permit process that has been put in place through the ordinances that were passed in, I believe it was 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lawson?
Thanks. I would just advocate for the most strenuous focus on public safety. Because in years past, we have closed Elder Beach, and I'd be on the dog beach, and there'd still be 30 people on the sand at Elder. So whatever we've done in the past didn't work. And at that point, we didn't even know those other elements were even in the water before the sand washed away, and now they've been uncovered. Factoring in the state of the discharge pipe, factoring the state of the pier, that's a very dangerous spot. And I can appreciate the public comments at the village level. You can tell your children not to go as much as you want. Unfortunately, they don't always listen. So let's just be very open-minded about how to do that. It might be more labor intensive than we would like, but there's a lot on the line. So thank you.
Commissioner Rand?
I had a couple questions. One was related to the off-leash dog beach and the permits that have been filed. I know that the schematic was presented at the last meeting. It was not in our packet. It was circulated to commissioners, and I'm just wondering if that is the same schematic that was included in the Army Corps application, because I didn't see that circulated yet either.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, the 20 feet inset of each side going to the ordinary high water mark. In this case, it's like 578.6, and then extending the lake by 15 feet, so there's not the ease for the dogs to run around the fencing itself.
Okay.
4 foot high, 10 foot fence on the north, or a gate on the north, double entry, and then a 3-foot gate on the south with double entry.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to comment on is that I have noticed that the work on the Elder Bluff has been underway. It looks good. We've seen staff out there. I think the trimming as things grow in will be great because it will hopefully preserve some of the lake views. And just a question in terms of direction, because I think once things start growing in on Centennial, it's going to look a little bit more shabby compared to Elder. And are we able to undertake similar, bluff kind of trimming? Do we need to put that on an agenda? Does that need to be teed up at the village? Is that possible? Just because it is, beautiful to drive down Sheridan and be able to look out and see the lake. Like, that is something that I think everyone in the village values. And I'm just wondering, is there a way to move that forward? Do we need to, as I said, do some?
Sure. So the work that we've completed to date is essentially cleanup efforts or maintenance, if you will. We did not, do any large clearing of invasives. The buckthorn is still in place. We met down there with the village forester, identified the vines, dangerous or hazardous trees, trimming of trees, and then basically open up pathways for access within the staircase and the walkways and so forth is what we accomplished.
Okay.
Our intent is still to move forward with our bluff restoration plan as it's been submitted as part of our special use permit, and we plan on doing that for both sites as we keep moving forward. So we already have our plan in play for Centennial as part of our restoration efforts, and that's under review right now through the special use permit process. If we choose to move forward with some of those entities, or in this case, some of the items ahead of time, and they're considered maintenance items that are not going to be, that won't affect the slope and stability of the bluff, we can talk to village staff on that. But if it's anything that could potentially need a review by the third-party coastal consultant, then that would be part of the special use review, special use permit review. So that's where the separation of the two is in regards to maintenance versus anything that would be impactful to the bluff.
Okay.
Short answer is we can do some cleanup, but we can't be aggressive.
Okay, thank you. Because I was struggling to understand what said a yes or no. E.G. Nazal, do you need
It's a partial.
a direction from the board to say, yes, we're okay to do a similar maintenance of the bluff?
Not on maintenance, no.
Okay. Just checking, because I do think like it's gonna. No, I had just the two.
Commissioner James.
I have a few remarks on different topics. At the last meeting, Commissioner Root and I were in agreement. We both referenced the existing fence on the north end of Centennial. Why can't we simply re-erect a pre-existing fence? Why do we need a special use permit to reconstruct a fence that was destroyed by rising water? That is the quickest way to get back to an off-leash dog beach. So I hope we will continue to consider that as an alternative. I'm happy to make a motion to advance that. I hope that the notion of exercising home rule authority, which was removed from consideration by the village, will remain off their agenda. Beyond the simple issue of keeping dogs within the defined area, the unintended consequences include obviating the requirement to limit usage to dogs that meet all vaccination and registration requirements, as well as interfering with our ability to provide a protected bypass route for pedestrians seeking to access the lakefront. In this instance, if you're not familiar with the principle of Chesterton's fence, it's uncannily appropriate. So for all you seekers of wisdom, Chesterton's fence is a good one for this. I'm aware that the professional engineering consultants, including Bill Loftus, PE of Spaceco Engineering, Thomas Burke, PE and PhD of Christopher Burke Engineering, and Matt Wright, PE of Red Barn Design and Engineering, have developed a more cost-effective solution for the rerouting of the storm sewer at Elder that is consistent with the overall plan for Elder, including the discharge of the storm sewer underneath the proposed North Groin. I am prepared to make a motion to direct staff to amend the Elder permit to include the proposed detailed plans for the rerouting of the storm sewer. This will, if I could just for a second, it intercepts the existing storm sewer at the bluff where there are two very old manholes. One's made of brick and it's fallen apart. And it takes the water down to the bottom of the bluff, turns it left, and then heads it out. The pipe and the discharge and all these calculations, these very technical calculations have been performed by our engineering team, and I've been advised that it works, and it works very well and very appropriately. And in fact, this is consistent with the approach that we were already in for permit in March of 2022 to relocate the discharge of the storm sewer to the North Groin. That piece of the puzzle has been consistent since 2016, since the approval of the Lakefront Plan, to relocate the storm discharge to allow us to unify Elder, which is presently divided 410 feet, divided into three parts. We can make it a single beach by relocating the storm sewer to the north. I also want to comment on the cancellation of the Plan Commission hearing on April 23rd. It's unfortunate because we asked for a 30-day delay so that the Village Plan Commission could consider our 417-page response that was submitted on February 17th before the planned Feb 26, I think it was 26 or 2024 board meeting. Because of spring break, the village told us that there was no regularly scheduled meeting in March, so we planned for April, plenty of time for everybody to understand the plans. Now we find that despite the fact that the Village Plan Commission held a special meeting on April 10th, they couldn't find a quorum to hold the regular scheduled meeting that had been on the books for a couple months on April 23rd. So we are now continued to May 28th. You want to note that the Winnetka Park District passed a resolution approving plans for Elder and Centennial on May 25th, 2023. We were ready then, and we were ready again on October 23rd, 2023, after amending plans to meet the newly enacted village ordinances. Intergovernmental cooperation is a two-way street. The Park District is a separate unit of government. Like all property owners, we deserve a prompt consideration of our plans. I've already mentioned that the commitment to remove the Elder Pier and relocate the storm discharge to the north end of Elder was approved and part of our plans in March 2016. There are other elements of the plan, including the ADA access to Centennial, that have been a part of the plan since March of 2016. The reinstatement of the dog beach was voted on unanimously by members of this board on October 22nd, 2022. 2.5 years ago, we agreed to reinstate the dog beach. That was the most significant modification to the Lakefront Master Plan, and we have consistently reaffirmed the commitment to the dog beach at the south end of Centennial, October of 22, May of 23, October of 23. Each of those formal resolutions, or those motions or formal resolutions, committed to keep the dog beach at the south end of Centennial, not less than 170 feet, not more than 270 feet. I'm sorry that you were all riled up. This matter had already been addressed by the board, and I don't see any consensus upon disbanding the dog beach. Let's see, as far as Elder, we were, like I said, we were ready to go in October of 23 with plans that had been modified to accommodate the then 5 different ordinances that the village had passed. We modified the plans to comply with the newly enacted village ordinances. We were ready to submit for permit, but we were told we could not. We had to wait until the 9-month abeyance period had lapsed. That was April of 24. We were ready to submit. We submitted for permit on April 3rd, 2024 for Centennial Park. It's now a year later, and we're still in the second step of a 4-step process. There's a big misunderstanding that I hear people talking about. The special use process in the village of Winnetka consists of 3 advisory bodies making a recommendation to the village board, but the final action and decision and any changes and recommendations should be brought forward after going through those 3 advisory committees and then to the village board. Look, I've been in the real estate development business for 38 years. I've been through this process many, many times. It is usual and customary to receive feedback going through these advisory boards and then to consolidate that and address it at the final decision-making body, which is the village board. We should continue with this process so that we can get the valuable feedback through this formal process, and then the following, I'll be off in one more meeting, and you guys can make decisions going forward on what's in the best interest of the community. But the village has been emphatic. It can't shortchange the process. Let us continue.
You good?
I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay. Were there questions you had for Costa?
My question was, and 2 things I'd like to follow up on. First, I'd like to make a motion that we amend the elder permit to include the detailed engineering plans to reroute the storm sewer pipe, that they be presented to this board at the next meeting or in advance of the next meeting so that we can consider it at that May 22nd meeting, so that you'll all have ample time to review and understand it, and we can prepare a proper motion to put that into the mix. We still haven't been scheduled for our first meeting for elders, so including this shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so that's one thing that I'd like to do. And then, Colleen, if you're amenable, I'd still like to pursue, just see if we can reinstall the pre-existing fence.
Okay. I want to just go through the work streams with Costa, because I think it's my turn now. I'm sorry. So I just wanted to go through the work streams and summarize with Costa. So we have the Centennial permit, which is going before the Plan Commission for the second time, after a couple of different delays. We have the temporary fence permit at Centennial, correct? We have the Elder temporary opening work stream, sorry.
Going back to the Centennial permit, the application is in for the IDNR, well, will be in for the IDNR and the Army Corps, not
Yes.
the village at this
Correct.
point in time. So just
Correct.
clarification.
Correct. And that's the temporary fence. Yeah, that's the temporary fence. Then we have the Elder temporary reopening work stream. Okay. My one question about the Elder temporary opening work stream is, say that everything goes according to plan. Do we have, because I know that you were checking on scheduling for scouring barge services, do we have any assurances that those people are still available? Because their busiest window is upon us.
Correct. The scope of work that we have is a small scope.
Okay.
So this would be, I'll say, filler work, if you will, where they could easily mobilize. Not that it would be next day, they would still have to plan it in key with their scheduling, but I was, suggested that they can accomplish that in the season.
Okay.
One of them also, offered up, we can get out there May 17th, and I was like, can't give you approval quite yet, but we appreciate it. So,
Okay.
And that was for a marine base operation.
Okay. So the commercial components of the equation are, in theory, available to us.
To further that a little bit further,
Yes.
in addition to our work, the village is currently working on fixing the pipe, the
Yeah.
broken pipe at Elder.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly when that will coincide in regards to their timeline, but there will be a time where they'll need access to Elder Lane Beach as well. How they mobilize that, if that's marine or not, if there's an opportunity that maybe the same contractor gets both jobs, I don't know. There could be some, work productivity or capabilities there. But that's another thing to take into consideration of the closure of the site, to let them address the pipe and the repair of the pipe as well.
Correct. Then we have, you've had your turn. Then we have item number 4, we have the Elder permit for the larger project at
The
Elder
special use
itself.
permit, yes.
Correct. So we have 4 work streams, 2 which are temporary and urgent in nature, Centennial Dog Beach Fence and Elder attempting to open.
Clean up and opening.
Correct.
Both
Correct.
sides, yes.
And then 2 longer-term strategic permitting work streams.
Our plan, approved plans as directed by this board to move forward with, and
Correct.
continue moving forward with.
Okay.
Coach just said some new information.
Did everybody, I know Cynthia wrote it down, I know that you nodded. Do you want to highlight that new information and elaborate?
There's not much more that I can elaborate on because the village has reviewed, they understand that there is an issue with the pipe. The section of the pipe that is missing, they're looking to reinstall. They're working with their engineering firm on how to best address that scenario and means and methods on how to construct, put together potentially a bid for that. But who, when, time, I don't know. That's a process that their team, the village staff, is working on right now. But I know they are working on that front.
Right, and just to summarize for everybody, it's the village's pipe and it's the Park District's pier, so we have to work together.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I think we've covered all the information.
Quick question. Do we have the specific easement between the Park District and the village that governs the use, operation, and maintenance of the pier? Because I'm an engineer, I've been inside that pier, I know how it's constructed, I've reviewed the construction documents. There's no way to disassemble that pier without destroying the top of it. And if somebody's talking about trying to get inside the pier, the only way you can get inside the pier is from either wiggling through one of the broken pieces of concrete or coming in from the end. I have no idea what they plan on doing, but I question the efficacy and the wisdom of trying to replace a pier that we're in for permit to remove.
Hey, one thought is, in your proposed new resolution or addition to the
Which we can consider
permits
in May.
on the large work at Elder, is it your assumption, because it's, although it's the village's pipe, to turn it north and then obviously redirect it under a groin, that would we bear that expense? I mean, in some ways, we're offering them a brand new pipe. We've got to pay for the rock. We've got to pay for construction. Listen, village's pipe, don't want to violate their ownership of the pipe, but here's a new pipe. You won't have to worry about it until we've all passed. I guess I'm confused why they wouldn't necessarily take that deal. Again, I don't know if we are in position to pay for it. I don't even know how much it would cost.
I don't want to make any promises about the plan yet, because we haven't yet passed that turning the pipe at the bluff side, number one. And number two, the village has some investigation work to do that definitely informs us, so we're going to have to work together. That information is going to have to come from them with regard to how they plan to do it. So obviously, I fully anticipate that the village will adhere to all of the requirements of the easement, and that we will be notified if they need to access through our pier or damage our pier in any way. Okay, I think we need to move.
I want to make a motion.
Right now?
Yep.
For
I
the,
do. Yep, because this staff only acts upon specific direction from this board. So my motion is that because the last of the IGA discussions that broke down said follow the permit process. So I would like to give specific direction to staff so that council and Costa and the engineering team, consisting of Spaceco, CBBL, BBEL, and Red Barn Engineering, meet with their counterparts at the village and its consultant, Strand. These are the same 5 engineers that met back and agreed back in 2022. There's a good working relationship there. I'd like to see that staff advances this in the interest of the public so that we can come back in May, a month from now, and have some actionable information.
okay. Do we have a second to that motion?
So just to clarify, is the motion to amend the Elder special use permit to include the relocation of the pier?
That'll come in May. I think we have to study this, but what I'm saying is direct staff to hold these meetings, to get these design drawings in the hands of the village so they can understand we've got a solution. We have answers. We have PhD, Thomas Burke, working on this, done the modeling. It's good. Let's advance in the public interest.
So I'm trying to understand as far as the work product that we're looking for right now. Is it something that you would be motioning and voting on right now to submit to the village or come back in May?
As far as amending the plans to reinstate that, nobody's seen this. I don't think we're ready to act on that.
Correct.
But as far as directing staff to reach out, make village know that we have plans that we've been working on to address this, more economical, that meet all the requirements. I think that we should be advancing this in the public's interest. We're trying to work together. We were trying to have these conversations earlier this year. They never happened. If staff can make headway, that'd be great, because I'd hate to see the village go spend good money, throw good money after bad, trying to repair a pipe inside a pier that we have plans to remove.
So we already have change orders with our consultants for Elder Lane stormwater. So that's already in place. What my understanding is right now is the want for staff to work with those folks on stormwater and come back to the board in May with an alternative solution.
Okay, I'm saying it much more directly. We already have an alternative solution. I want
Understood.
staff to make that known to the village so that we can work together.
But we can't do that before the board.
That's why I'm making the motion that you move specifically to contact the village. Adam should be discussing the easement. There's whatever, I have not been able to find any easement. There's just a blanket statement from back in the 40s. What are the specific easement provisions to the village? That was one of the things we were supposed to negotiate. The other was the actual design and the conveyance. These are technical issues. They should be handled by engineers. Let's just, so because staff doesn't act without our direction, I'm asking staff, go in that direction. Reach out to the village. Let's make progress.
So your point is that, and I was just asking Costa, our staff has new information regarding the ability to turn the pipe north, turn it. All right, not this original plan from years ago,
Yeah, not.
to rip it up through the park.
bury it, correct.
And diagonally run it down.
Picks it up at the two manholes that are in the middle of the bluff, takes it a few feet down, turns it north, and then goes up.
So this is
That was
new
what we-
information for the board tonight that staff believe with the.
We previously authorized change orders for them to develop that plan.
Okay, got it.
Costa, I'd like to hear from you.
Sure. So the work that Warren's describing is the work that we were working towards when the initial discussions for the IGA commenced.
Correct.
And the idea was to work together, come up with the optimal solution on how to address this issue.
Correct.
We're working through that. Unfortunately, communication, there was some breakdowns in regards to, I'll just leave it there as communication breakdowns. We have a plan that staff feels comfortable that reduces the cost as well as the function, or keeps the functionality of the project alive in a less impactful way to not only the park, but the bluff as well.
Great.
So we have plans that have been vetted and have been modeled in regards to flow rate capacities, not necessarily in the hydraulics of the lake itself and how that changes because the outfall is different. But in regards to the hydraulic flows to the current model bulletin for stormwater that the village observes has been completed. I have received some information on that as of last week. We continue moving forward with that, so we have that available to move forward because one of the directions that the park board gave staff was to also reduce cost on the project.
Right.
So we fulfilled that. What I understand here today is not only to bring this forward to the board to present it to the May 22nd meeting, but also bring this forward to the park, or excuse me, the village staff, so they can review it in their, in turn, and see if this is something that's gonna hold water.
Yeah.
And then if so, then get proper direction to then adjust the submittal plan for Elder Lane, include this with the plan set, and then resubmit for an additional review for special use to include this plan change as it's been identified, only if approved at the May 22nd meeting.
Right. So the motion on the table is let's direct staff to get these plans to turn that pipe in front of the village. And if we get them in front of the village now, it might turn out that that may be the option that they choose. Okay,
Right.
that's the motion. May I have a second? Is it clear what the motion is? Okay, staff to staff sharing of plans we've already authorized the development of. Okay. There's a motion, may I have a second? Then we'll have-
Just a procedural point.
Yeah.
This was not clearly identified on the agenda, so is it actually
Mike?
a motion or straw? Just a procedural point, this was not clearly identified as an item on the agenda for action. So is it a motion? Is it a straw poll? It sounds like the core of it is just allowing staff to get some initial discussion and feedback underway with the new design that is yet unseen.
But correct me if I'm wrong, as a procedural matter, if the item itself is on the agenda, you can make a motion to move it forward.
So the Open Meetings Act requires that the agenda describe this general subject matter of items to be addressed by the board. This is clearly within the scope of Elder Lane and Centennial Park project. Furthermore, I don't view this as a vote on a final action. It's basically just giving direction for staff action. So for both reasons, I think it's okay.
Yeah, okay. So let's have a second. If a second naturally occurs.
Second.
Lawson is the second. I'd like to do a roll call vote.
Can we clarify the motion?
Discussion?
Discussion,
Oh,
clarify
excuse
the
me,
motion.
discussion, of course. Go ahead, please.
If I understand this correctly, this all came about when I believe you, Commissioner James, were working with the team as part of the IGA discussions. Is that correct? I'm trying
No.
to get some understanding.
No, coast to
new
coast, you can
information.
clarify.
This
That's
is
not-
new
that's-
information.
That's
This
not true.
started with discussions back, I want to say it was kind of October, November, with James Hemming, with discussions with Chris Rins as it related to the project and ways to move forward in regards to agreement for stormwater.
Right?
From that point forward, staff has been working on this direction to figure out a more suitable way that was less impactful to the park, less impactful to the bluff, as well as a cost reduction to the project. That was the direction that we received, and those were the change orders that were approved through the different change orders on this work. So that's what staff has been working on in the background for this. And as I said, just as of recently, have we affirmed that everything will work for the new anticipated design. But since the IGA discussions came to a halt, we haven't had a chance to vet this further or present it to the park board. So this is
To
an
the village.
opportunity to bring it to the park board for review on the 22nd, as well as vet this through the village to see
Staff
if
to
this is
staff.
something that they would support as well.
If I may, here's my concern. Obviously, you, Commissioner James, are well versed in all of this. You know exactly what is going on here. I'm looking at the rest of us on the board, and this is all new information. This has not been shared with the board. Hear me out here. This has not been shared with the board. It is something that is, that you're working on. But this would be something where I would look to our executive director and say, if this is going to come up in this meeting, then we would be most appreciative as commissioners to bring this information to us before the meeting so that we in turn can also have some understanding before we're starting to push something along.
Commissioner Root, I would say that I did not put this on the agenda. I was not aware that we were going to have this motion crafted as it was. So this was not a staff initiative to not share things with the board. So I would clarify that.
So
This is nothing that staff has.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, let me just clarify. Adam, you feel like this motion or this recommendation, this staff-to-staff conversation about a solution that is timely for the village is within the scope of this board's activities tonight?
It's permitted.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion.
There's still discussion.
There's absolutely still discussion, I'm just clarifying. So we have this motion that the staff should approach the village staff and offer up this solution. Fair enough. It's a solution that we will consider in full at the May 22nd meeting, but it's a staff-to-staff conversation, completely non-binding, offers them an option. Okay, that's how I understand the motion, okay? Second thing is, I don't want to shut down any additional discussion, so I'm going to go around the circle. I think you've already spoken. Yeah.
Can I say something else?
Yeah.
Listen, I
Say one thing and then we're gonna move around the circle.
I view this as, this is a positive for the long-term improvement potential. We're not voting on anything other than for staff, to engage staff, which if I recall correctly in the March meeting. That's how we're going to work on Elder, considering the IGA process broke down for whatever reason. So it's staff to staff. We have a new development. We're all learning about it. This is positive. So I think we say, yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's have staff talk to one another and say, hey, we've got this idea. We think it works. It's much more economical. It might save the village a lot of money as well. I think it's fantastic.
Okay. I think you've already said your piece, correct?
I have one other question on Elder after we are done with this.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Tyson?
I think the best possible scenario is get the experts at the table and to talk about this. It sounds like to me we're just asking for a conversation. We're not forcing a particular what's going to come out of it. We want to see what they think. And I think it's a great thing to get the experts around the table. I don't want to sit at that table,
Yeah.
but I want the experts to sit at that table.
Commissioner Lawson? Do you need a?
Maybe. Thank you. It's an extension of conversation, intergovernmental agreement. Have the conversation.
Thank you. Commissioner Rapp?
I'm supportive of having the conversation. I would just say, though, that before we come back in May, I would like ample time to review drawings and documents. So possibly, if we are preparing to vote on something, that they could be available earlier in the week for questions. I don't know if we want to have a workshop to review them ahead of the meeting or some other forum, but I do not want to have a big mountain of drawings and technical things to review over the weekend leading up to Tuesday with no opportunity for input and proper questions and have it feel rushed, particularly since it's a new thing.
Noted. Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, just to refresh everyone's recollection, we were ready to submit Elder for permit in April of last year. We were delayed because the village was waiting to hear from its consultant, Strand and Associates, to determine whether or not the proposed relocated discharge pipe size and location were appropriate. In September of last year, Strand gave a lengthy, detailed presentation to the village, and they concluded that the location and the size of the proposed rerouted discharge was appropriate. We also learned that the village had televised the storm sewer going through Elder and had determined that it was in good condition, and should it become necessary, they could line those existing pipes in place. So at that point in time, it was Matt Wright of Red Barn Engineering who came up with the idea, said, hey, if the pipe's good and it's properly sized, we shouldn't go forward with the diagonal route across the park. We can save millions by avoiding that. Let's just pick it up on the bluff, turn it left underneath the boardwalk that's already proposed, and then send it out. We can save a lot of money, and that was the discussion that led to the change order. So we directed staff to proceed with this change order, develop this alternative approach. We are now have reasonable assurance that this is a very appropriate and useful approach to solve both the village's issue and realize our vision, Park District's vision for its beach, to have one continuous Elder beach from North Groin to the existing steel on the very south end, uninterrupted. So I think it's a win-win, and I'd like to see it advanced. That requires two parts: staff, engineering staff, and also council to council to get to find the easement language, because the easement issue is another part that we simply made no progress on.
President Coto, can I try and?
Summarize the motion?
That's what I'm going to try to do.
Excellent, thank you.
Direct staff and consultants to discuss with village staff on an alternative stormwater plan for Elder Lane Beach and bring back for board discussion on May 22nd.
Board discussion approval, perfect, okay.
Did Red Barn execute the contract for this as part of the IGA from December? 'Cause
The
I thought-
change order for this work was executed on. The additional scope of work for the additional change order was not. There was
Okay.
a small scope of services for hours allotted for this, not the continuation of extra time for additional work as related to special use. That was not approved. It was approved but not executed because there was some issues with the language in regards to timing and indemnification.
The Elder Stormwater.
Okay.
Okay, it's hard for me to understand the subtleties of those two things, but it sounds like what staff is saying, just to summarize, is that Red Barn is still engaged for what we're asking to be done right now.
For this particular portion.
Clarify your motion, our motion.
I'll read it again. Direct staff and consultants to discuss with village staff an alternative stormwater plan for Elder Lane Beach and bring back for board discussion on May 22nd.
Okay, that is the motion as it is on the floor right now. Do I have a second?
It already was, I think.
Sorry, sorry.
Motion.
Eric seconded. Okay, that's a roll call vote.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp? Yes. Commissioner Roach?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Coto?
Yes. Good. Making some progress. Adding more to Costa's calendar. Thank you, Costa. Yes.
Again, I had another question.
Sure,
Seeing that we
please.
had expanded the scope of this particular section, and it deals with understanding clarification of where we are with Matthew Wright, and a question about who will be making presentations at the Plan Commission, with the hope that
That's the next item.
for the Plan Commission, we will have our experts in place ready to answer questions, and by experts, I mean our engineers.
That's our next question.
Do we have now a new contract with Red Barn Engineering?
A new contract? No, we do not have a new contract.
Do we have the contractual relationship with Red Barn so that Matthew Wright could appear
Yes,
at the May Plan Commission?
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, I'm assuming there are no additional questions. Raise your hand if you have any additional questions. Okay, fine. We're going to move on to item 5.5. This is the designation of zoning and permitting representatives. I added this because I wanted to make sure that we had the option to include Mickey Archambault and Warren James, who served on the IGA Stormwater Committee successfully for Southwest Winnetka, not yet successfully, I will say, with an optimist's sort of slant, for the Elder Lane Beach and Centennial expansion. So they were charged initially with trying to negotiate this Elder Stormwater Agreement, this Elder Stormwater IGA. That scope was expanded to see if they could reach some agreement, since they had four of the 5 people had negotiated successfully in the past. So we thought if we gave them a little bit broader scope, perhaps they could reach some agreement. It's still an active negotiating team. I'm still optimistic that can happen. We have 2 people who have a lot of history on these projects, and they have a lot of history together. So my motion is, may I have a motion to designate Mickey Archambault and Warren James as representatives to speak on behalf of the Park District at scheduled zoning and permitting hearings related to Elder Lane and Centennial Park and Beach.
So moved.
Okay. May I have a second? Second? Yeah, go ahead.
Before I sign that, can I
Yeah.
ask a question?
Yes.
Was this what was done for the now postponed meeting?
Say it again?
Well, we had a meeting that was postponed by
Yes.
the Plan Commission.
Yes. Yes.
Do we do this before every meeting? Is that the process?
No, they would have both been IGA commissioners. Since Warren is rolling off the board and the IGA committee has reached an impasse, I wanted to be super clear that if we need their expertise, I want us to have the option of asking them to speak. It's not an obligation. Okay, thank you. Seaman is a second, and that's a roll call vote. Oh, sorry, discussion. Excuse me, discussion.
So I'm just a little bit unclear on the role. So they would speak as like consultants for us at these meetings?
They would speak as former commissioners, and they would speak as members of the IGA Stormwater Negotiating Team.
So why would we not just have them speak during public comment? I'm a little bit uncomfortable granting additional authority in line with like our media policy and our protocols to say, you know, none of us can, you know, speak at one of those meetings. Only the board president can speak at those meetings. So I'm a little bit uncomfortable with why we would delegate that. I mean, former Commissioner Archambault has certainly spoken in public comments at those meetings. So why would that not be the path that we would be pursuing?
So I think as a function of their negotiations, first successfully in the stormwater, Southwest Winnetka stormwater team, they have the ability to reference aspects of those agreements that could get them to move forward with this agreement. I think we need, in the teams negotiating for the Park District and the Village, we need every single person who has successfully negotiated in the past to be allowed, not obligated, not assigned, simply allow that option so that they can present if there is pertinent information for them. And I think it helps us. We're not obligated, but I think it keeps that door open in the event that someone wants to hear from Warren. He's allowed to speak on the presentation team. Okay? Any other discussion? Sorry, I didn't mean to shut it down.
So the Park District may opt not to have Warren.
Correct.
And Mickey participate.
Correct.
They might never be invited to participate.
Correct.
But you just want the option.
I just want the option. Commissioner Tyson?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Root?
Do I understand correctly that at the Village, we will have a new face on this team? I presume we will, because we will have a new village president. Do we know if Bob Dearborn is going to be stepping into that role?
We can only decide what the Park District can offer up. The Village gets to decide what the Village
Well,
offers
we're
up.
looking at history as being the more or less predictor of the future. And again, I share Commissioner Rapp's concerns. I think that experience is wonderful, and yet I don't know in what role someone who is no longer an elected government official really serves. I mean, we're talking about issues where there's not real governance over former commissioners. I don't know if they can be deputized. You know, I guess.
So I'm gonna ask.
Could I hear me out here? We have sitting in this room tonight 2 new dynamite commissioners. These people I've had the pleasure of speaking with. They have the educational background. They've done extensive negotiations. One of them very, very detailed business negotiations. Why would we not want to encourage our new elected officials to have this opportunity to go in and have discussions? We would be bringing new faces, new personalities, and perhaps that would be a winning solution with the understanding that we can always seek the guidance of our veteran senior commissioners. It's a thought.
Sure,
I have a
go
question,
ahead.
Commissioner Root. It sounds like your comments were directed towards whether or not Mickey Archambault and Warren James would be part of like an IGA negotiating team, and I don't think that was the purpose of the motion that Commissioner Cotto made.
No, that's not where I am at all. Where I am is when you bring people who were former elected government officials back in a room, they have no duty of confidentiality. They don't have to file a statement of economic interest. We don't know if they have conflicts of interest moving forward. We lose the guidelines, the framework.
Oh, I understood all those points. Your comments sounded like you were concerned about them negotiating with the village as opposed to speaking at a public hearing. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, we can, we have in the past designated representatives for us. And these people were chosen simply because they have been, not simply, but because they have been successful in working together in the past. I know that they have relationships with people in the village and that they have knowledge and experience with this project that could serve us well in the next project. And for that reason, I'd like it as an option. I'm not saying it's an obligation. I'm not saying they're assigned. I'm not saying they may even speak one word, but I do want it as an option. And I want to be crystal clear that that's the status that they would have if they were invited to speak. Because I do think they bring personal relationships, personal history, and experience to the negotiating table. And it's helpful. So,
Can I
yes.
make one more comment?
Yes.
This motion does not exclude the
Any
new
new- yes.
fantastic board members from participating in meetings with the Village Plan Commission.
Correct.
This is not exclusionary. Both Warren will be off the board, like Mickey, when the next Plan Commission meeting is taking place. And then I would also say, listen, Warren, whether you agree with him or not, his style or not, he is without question the most knowledgeable public person on these projects. That's just my view. So I think this is a wonderful option to have in our back pocket if so needed. Doesn't exclude the wonderful 2 new commissioners from also participating.
Okay. So I think everyone who has wanted to say something has had the chance to say something, so let's have a roll call vote. Sorry, I'm sorry.
So is this also including continued participation in meetings with consultants to prepare for said meetings? Or is it people getting up and giving public comment?
If necessary.
We're talking about 6 days.
Yeah, yeah.
One other question here. What I have noticed has been lacking before the village has been the presentation of our technical experts. And this is a comment, I would be most appreciative if during the next plan session, we actually have our technical experts front and center so that when the questions are asked, they can, under oath, answer them, rather than having to rely on very competent staff, Executive Director Dizal and you, Costa Catullis. I just think it carries much more weight when you have the people who actually designed and did the work present to answer the questions. That's just kind of a commentary. Thank you for your tolerance on that.
Okay, so I think we've had a thorough discussion. I'm ready to take this to a roll call vote. Thank you.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
I'm going to say no.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotto?
Yes. Okay, we're moving on to new business, item number 6, the community room audiovisual system replacement, Toby, 6.1.
Good evening.
Adams, not you.
entirety.
That's convenient.
It's been pretty good overall tonight, but Greg is disappointed. Yeah, that's okay. No, I'm fine. Greg is definitely disappointed he couldn't make it tonight. We both worked pretty hard on this project, and we're excited for what's to come. Just a quick background, early 2024, obviously the request to increase and enhance the audio capabilities of this room was brought before us. What we've been using and what has served us for over a year now. Certainly not perfect and not meant to be a long-term solution, but a Band-Aid and patch fix nonetheless. As we went through the process, it has not been perfect by any means. And so during the 2025 budget cycle, about $30,000 was earmarked for enhancements and improvements to this room. And so earlier this year, Greg and I, and along with a couple other people, Taylor included, met with various groups, started to see what we could do. And it became pretty clear from the outset that we should also be looking to integrate video components into the scope of work and not just focus on audio. So kind of moving forward from that, CTI rose to the top as, not just the lowest bidder for audio by itself, but also audio and video combined, and just our confidence in their ability to do what we're looking for and what is kind of desired was very clear. One reason in particular, and I wish Greg was here because he certainly has a lot more knowledge on this aspect of the process than I did, but with the TIPS co-op, which we are a member of, CTI is also basically working through them, which provides us with much lower quotes that have already been basically pre-vetted, and we don't have to worry about a ton of that stuff because it's already been done for us. So sort of in the long story short, and where we are here is hoping that we can move forward with CTI to really enhance, again, not just the audio components of everything, but the video as well. Basically make a much more integrated system with enhanced accessibility as well. Just all better things than what we have been using and limping along with for the past year.
And what I'd add is that big thanks to Toby and Greg and Taylor on everybody that worked with trying to figure out what's going to work best for this room. It was not an easy task because there is not much room to spare in this room. So what it would allow for would be our setup to be in the kitchen area, and then we would have speakers in the ceiling and video in the ceiling that would be able to take that video and stream it live, so we don't have our camcorder in the corner like it's 1995, and also be able to collect that audio as we do, so it will reduce the amount of equipment that we have out here, and we'll still have the wireless microphones and the capabilities to also have, Toby mentioned the ADA accessibility portion, which allows folks to listen to it on their own device to be able to hear closer up if they're having a hard time hearing in the room itself. So I believe it's an app that that they're able to use and with their own.
Yeah, there were a couple different options that we
Yeah.
can explore, whether it's a headset or other things, alongside everything else. That's just it's just a much more
very comprehensive
fluid
option.
and a lot less piecemealing of things together. You've got a speaker and a camera, and then everything's kind of was just brought together to get us where we are. This is, like I said, a much more integrated system with controls all bound into one thing. So.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much for this work. May I have a motion to approve contracting with CTI for the complete audio-video integrated system shown on the quote as presented through the TIPS Purchasing Cooperative for the total price of $60,061.60, This combined with the 2,000 contingency brings the total recommended cost to $62,061.60.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
That's Root and Rapp. And is there any discussion? Yes.
I just had a question on the functionality of the new video. Will it capture when we're presenting something to have the materials on the screen, similar to how the Villages works, where you can see the presentation?
Yes,
Yeah.
so the system will kind of be plug and play. So we'll still have the computer set up, and that way we'll be able to determine what's showing on the feed, which camera it is, and if it's a presentation that's up on the screen.
Okay, that's great. And thank you, Toby, for all your hard work. It's always a joy to have you at one of our meetings, so.
Love to be here.
Any additional discussion? Okay, I think we're ready, Lisa, for a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Coto.
Yes. Okay. Item, nice job, Toby.
Thank you, Toby.
Item number 6.2, we voted on in consent. Item number 6.3, establishment of standing committees. May I have a motion to approve the establishment of budget and finance and capital projects and facilities, 2 standing committees as outlined in Resolution 2025-04-24-02. May I have a motion? Okay.
Nobody
So
else will do it,
moved.
I'll
Yeah,
do it.
there you go. James with the motion, the second. Seaman,
Second.
discussion.
I certainly have comments and questions, but I would, I presume that President Coto put this forward on the agenda, so I think it would be helpful to have your narrative and rationale first,
Sure.
and then.
Sure. There has been a great deal of criticism that we don't have any committees. There's been some concern that we need more focus on 2 major areas, budget and finance and capital projects and facilities. These are our 2 biggest areas of complexity. Some of us here at this table struggle with some of the issues that are presented, so it would be helpful to get 2 commissioners and applications for 3 members from the committees at large, both groups having to apply, in order to discuss these topics at greater length, to provide specific oversight, to provide focused analysis, and also to provide community outreach, because it will be another public meeting specifically devoted to one of those 2 topics. I'm anticipating a very tactical set of committees, 5 people total, 2 commissioners, 3 people from the community at large. They'll meet no more than once a quarter. They'll meet immediately before our meetings to streamline the work for the staff, because we're trying to keep the efficiency component of this in mind. But it will give them a chance to study some topics in greater detail. Okay.
Open to public.
Absolutely, observing all OMA requirements. Okay. Any questions?
I am in full support of having a committee structure for these topics. The committee structure allows for public meetings of elected officials and staff with a reduced quorum than a meeting involving the full board or committee of the whole. It allows for specific discussion of topics grouped in a transparent way. These are benefits. This would also be a significant improvement in my view, I would hope, over the 2 commissioner budget presentations in the past, which were not open to the public, and hopefully it will be easy for staff. So I fully support the creation of standing committees for budget and finance and capital projects and facilities, but I do not support the proposed composition of the committees, which I'm going to talk about further. based on my review at comparable park districts, namely Glencoe, Highland Park, Northbrook, Wilmette, and Glenview, committee members are solely elected park district commissioners working in subject area committees, similar to those as are proposed or in a committee of the whole format. When the new members are seated, the credentials of seated commissioners will include the following: an MBA from the University of Chicago, an MBA from Columbia, an MBA from Kellogg, an MBA from Yale, a BS in Finance and Economics, a BS in Computer Science, a couple JDs, and an MS in Public Policy. And yes, this is more than 7, as some people have more than 1 degree. So we're fortunate to be in a community to have such talent and financial acumen present within our board, and a continuing pipeline of talent willing to serve our community. We have an outstanding executive director and staff preparing these items, and this should come together smoothly as the 2026 budget is prepared. It's our executive director's second time around, so that I think will make things a lot easier.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of learning in the 2025 cycle, and we have objectives in place to build on successes in the coming year. In my view, the focus of community engagement should be on identifying the capital projects and facility amenities that residents want and value, and fostering excellence in our parks in line with our comprehensive plan and strategic planning process underway. So not spending for the sake of spending or undertaking financial engineering for the benefits of others. We have advisory committees, in our manual, which are supposed to be focused on the delivery of parks and recreation services and facilities, which I think is what we want, and that's a great opportunity for residents to be involved as in advisory groups, not in this area. For interested residents, we also heard a lot about how the Winnetka Parks Foundation is seeking board members. That's a great board to join, and in other communities like Highland Park, the foundation is a very valuable stepping stone for people who want to contribute more deeply as board members and commissioners. So I think we should be promoting service in that organization first and foremost, not taking away from that with another significant volunteer opportunity. As I touched on, advisory groups are the format for us to be getting input from citizens. And again, that focus should be on delivery on parks and recreation services and facilities. That is an area where I think we are seeing a need to have more engagement. So we have had them in the past. We had the Dog Beach Advisory Committee. We had the Lakefront Master Plan Advisory Group. We have had in the past advisory groups for golf. And as we get further down the road with our comprehensive plan and the facility needs, I think advisory groups to get further refinements on the specific interests would be appropriate. Glencoe has a Lakefront Advisory Group with an application process to participate in. Lots of people want to participate, and they also completed a successful referendum, which I think was in part with the building of community support through the advisory groups. My specific concern is that this proposal to add community members on committees directing expenditures suggests a move almost toward it felt a little like patronage to me, because it could be used to amplify special interests outside the electoral process into district spending. We don't need assistance in spending as a government entity. We've already budgeted $15.8 million into beach projects alone. Many wants have already been identified in the comprehensive plan community input process, and I expect the facility assessment already underway to show even more. We already have a lot of strong partnerships with local resident businesses at a lot of our facilities and in our consulting arrangements and in our affiliate partners. And so I think a little bit more separation, keeping this to the elected officials, is warranted. Committee assignments are not subject to our ethics policies and conflict of interest provisions, as we've talked about in other contexts. We don't have conflicts of interest provisions specifically around purchasing. So how does our commitment to work through the executive director apply in situations of non-committee board members? And my biggest concern is, will this magically result in unidentified budget surprises that just kind of appear and are in the budget and you don't really know that they're there because they're buried in a line item. We've had an example of that last year, and so that is certainly a concern. There are plenty of opportunities for public participation in the budget process, and as a board, we can certainly invite further participation through statutory public hearing processes, which we did not undertake previously, or the addition of a second public comment period at meetings where these topics are discussed. I would say that on topics of financial matters, if members of the community are really engaged, we greatly appreciate thoughtful written correspondence on topics, budget, capital projects, otherwise, that we take into account very seriously. In my view, our community does not need any more invisible hands guiding spending or seeking preferential advantages in facility use, which I think this structure could encourage. Our budget process allows for input already. Directing budgeting, capital spending, or other matters typically considered in these committees is not the place for short-term assignments of unelected officials in furtherance of a specific agenda, rather than with a duty to the community as a whole and a fiduciary duty as commissioners. So I would like to make a motion to amend the proposed language to increase the number of commissioners to 3 and remove the remaining language regarding the 3 at-large community members all the way through to the end of that section, because I think that's not appropriate for these 2 committees. I think if we want engagement of the community that you're proposing, we should be pursuing advisory groups that are more customer and facility focused and not very focused on the money and spending priorities.
So if I hear your objections correctly, and I just wanted to clarify this for everyone here, it sounds like you're concerned that these are not elected officials, but that they will have authority, and that is not what I am anticipating in this process.
I'm concerned that they will have a platform to amplify special interests based on the selection, and that a more appropriate path for that enthusiasm would be through these other channels, and not budget and finance and capital projects where we are getting input on the spending.
So we have a lot of, well, let me just start by saying that the committees would be advisory committees. They would advise to the board. All the final decisions would come to the board, number 1. Okay? Number 2, they would be subject to the Open Meetings Act. There would be applications. They would apply. They would state their criteria. They would be selected by the entire board. Okay? They would have short-term tactical expertise. They would either be chosen for their expertise or their interest to serve on these committees in order to clarify them for us as well as for themselves. They would be 100% visible. No authority would be taken from the board. And there would be, they could be eliminated from consideration if a conflict of interest were to emerge. I think the application process would help solve a lot of these challenges. And I'm not looking for, the entire board already has budget information available to it. If you've chosen to educate yourself, great. If you've chosen to do coursework, great. If you still don't understand how budgets work, maybe the perspective of people on an advisory committee could articulate it in such a fashion that it would be more comprehensible, not only to people on this board, but also to people in the community. That's my hope with putting this together. I hope that puts some of your concerns at rest.
Thank you for clarifying. It does not alleviate my concerns at all. I think that it is inconsistent with the practices of other boards. I am in full support of getting public input, but I am not in support of having people lobbying through the budget process without the elected accountability, even in an advisory capacity. It has been a surprise to have certain, things in the budget that I've approved. I've certainly, I have a good MBA. I certainly am diligent in going through the budget. There can still be surprises, and I think that it is like an undue influence that I think is just not appropriate.
We have a motion, and we sort of got off track from the
I
motion.
put a motion out. Does anyone want a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Well,
we're going through a process on Centennial right now through unelected officials.
Maybe.
What's that?
Maybe.
No, the Design Review Board,
Yes.
Plan Commission, these are unelected officials. They have no authority. They make recommendations. There are many, even on this board, certainly those that are sitting, that are very much in favor of the decision that those commissions have recommended. They're not elected. I'm assuming, I don't, perhaps they go through some level of conflict, I don't know. But they have no voting authority. I view this as something that's, or decision-making authority, I apologize. They vote, no ultimate decision-making authority. I could be on either side of this issue, but I guess I view this as something similar to that. We know, right, that village trustees communicate very actively, I would guess, with members of Design and Review Board and Plan Commission. I don't have to FOIA people for that. That's a natural part of the process. So you have elected officials with unelected officials, members of the community that have some level of expertise, knowledge, interest, broad viewpoints that come together to try to make recommendations to the village board. So that's one point. So I don't view this as a threat. You seem to see it as a threat and special interest. I don't. I would also say that, transparency, I believe you ran on transparency. Did you run on transparency? Was that one of your, or one of these?
I think we can take that up in 6.4,
Okay,
but no,
okay.
I want to answer you.
No, okay, so.
No, I want to answer you.
Okay.
David, he has the floor. David, he has the floor.
He asked me to
Yeah,
answer
that's fine,
him, and I want to answer him
Okay.
quickly. The open beaches, open land, open government slate ran
Yeah.
on the caucus platform for the 2024-2025 caucus. Okay?
That's fine. I misspoke. Open government, I interpret that as transparency. So I just view this as a transparent, open, community outreach opportunity.
Can I just respond to the village, the question about the village? The village, in their ordinances, has a significantly more robust conflict of interest provision that explicitly extends to the advisory boards.
Okay.
So it's not comparable to anything that we have in our guidelines.
That can be adopted in the course of the application process. Okay, we're gonna go around. You've spoken, please.
May I clarify one thing about the advisory boards for the village? As I understand the process, David, when a board is reviewing an application, they are not in discussion with trustees. In fact, they are very careful not to be in discussion with trustees, as well as not to be in discussion with members of the public. And it's not.
Yeah, when there's an item in front of.
When there's an item in front of them.
Right.
So then, once they have made that determination, then it goes through the process, and then at that point, the trustees might have communication. That's what I
So
understood.
let's put some meat,
So,
let's put some detail around this.
I would just like to correct that, because we do have a trustee who sits on plan, and there is communication across that board during our presentations.
That is
So,
true.
I mean, it's
They have-
public
No,
communication,
that is
but it
true.
is communication,
That is true.
nonetheless.
That is
Okay.
true. If I may, my concern with this is the fact that there is not precedent for this with other Illinois park districts. This is unique. And I was the one who kept saying, wouldn't it be nice to resurrect advisory standing committees? And what I was talking about was for ice, golf, tennis, and parks and recreation, where we had advisory committees where we brought in the public members who actually used the facilities or cared about open land and cared about parks, That's where I was headed. I certainly wasn't intending to suggest that this board and the one coming up needs to be diluted, and that we don't have the acumen
I don't see
to
the
do
dilution.
the job. Well, I certainly do. And I also, it is hard enough right now with this particular board to get information. It is very difficult to actually, and this is transparency, to get information. Like this evening, suddenly we have a brand new engineering issue of which I certainly wasn't aware. I view this as a further opportunity for side discussions, for the flow of side information to people who are not elected. And
Let me just
in
clarify.
budget and in capital projects, I think this is a very bad idea.
Okay. Let me just clarify that when Costa gave us new information tonight, you wrote it down, you noted it was new, Warren noted it was new. So that was new information to all of us.
With respect, Commissioner James had it in his long
You guys
discussion.
talk about different things.
Two different things.
No, I'm not.
The-
You had
the
already,
activity, totally different.
I was talking, the new information was that the village is trying to repair the pipe inside the pier.
Replace the pipe.
That's different.
That's
than
different.
our rerouting, but they are definitely related, and that's what I'm trying to avoid, is two parties going off in different directions.
Okay. I'm going to circle us back to this particular topic, and I'd like to go to Commissioner Tyson.
We've had advisory committees in the past. The one that comes to mind is the dog beach committee.
it was the Dog Beach Advisory Committee.
So
Yeah.
Commissioner Tyson has the floor.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anything came out of that caused side discussions or disruptions. I understand the point that these are different topics, but I'm just curious if there's a precedent of things.
Going sideways.
Yeah.
Good question. Commissioner Lawson?
Sure. I would submit that the budget and finance and capital projects are the two most important items for any elected official. And I would therefore limit it to elected officials.
Commissioner James?
No comments.
Okay. The goal is to be additive. The goal is to expand the resources. The goal is not to take any authority away from the board. All authority remains with the board, just as it does now. And the goal is to gain some education and some perspective. I anticipate that these committees will meet immediately before our meetings, and they will allow for people who can only participate in a smaller, more limited fashion, 4 meetings a year, we get some really good expertise. That's my hope. If we don't get the applications, we don't fill the committees. This allows us to establish them. It doesn't obligate us to establish them. But I think it would be nice to get some additional expertise.
Do we have
Can I make a motion to table?
Yeah, I was
You
going
can
to say the
table
same
it.
thing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
making a
fine.
motion to table this issue.
I'll second that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're tabling my amended motion or the
I'm
original
tabling the entire
motion?
motion.
Yeah.
So I think that the future board should be seated, and you guys should have a discussion, and people should reflect on this, and you
That's fine.
decide.
That's fine.
Can I make a recommendation that you table it to a date certain?
Okay, yes, I would,
Do you want to table to June? Because that'll give the new people a month
Yeah.
to get their feet on the ground. They'll be fine after that.
I would amend the motion to table it until after we have received all of the information and adopted our comprehensive plan and have a little bit of a view on the
okay,
time.
it's my motion,
Okay.
David, I move to
Table.
table this motion and revisit it in June of 2025, when the new board is convened.
Am I still moving or am I?
I move it, that's my motion.
So I'm sorry. Okay, so am I
You need to
It's
second
up
it.
to you.
moving? Am I still moved or am I seconding it?
You're seconding it.
Or
I'm
you-
seconding it,
yeah,
okay.
If you wish.
Okay.
Only
I
if
do,
you
I
wish.
want to. That was what
I would like to amend Warren's motion to be after we have approved the comprehensive plan targeted for July.
I don't see a problem with it. It can be July. That's fine. So the motion on the table is,
There's like 4 motions on the table.
so that's okay.
So right now,
You're gonna amend
the motion on the floor is whether to amend the motion to table,
Right,
to change it from June to July.
correct.
The first motion had a second, though.
Yeah, but motion to table supersedes.
So,
Yes.
that's correct.
Yeah.
So does anyone want to second Commissioner Rapp's motion?
I'll second that.
To July.
So now we have a motion to amend the motion to table from June to July. That's the prevailing motion right now.
And I think we have consensus that July would be fine, so I'm gonna go ahead and call for any additional discussion of July? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Commissioner Coto.
Yes.
Now we have a vote on the motion to table
Yes.
as amended.
May I have a motion to table?
It's already on the
Sorry,
table.
Yes,
We already have a motion, but now
Perfect. Now we need a
now the
second.
pending motion is to table to July.
yes. Okay. So,
So moved.
It already has been.
yeah, so you need a second, right?
It's already been seconded.
Okay, perfect, just a roll call, yeah, perfect.
Just give a second so she can catch up.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Commissioner Coto.
Yes.
These are gonna be fun minutes.
Okay. Moving on. Item 6.4, discussion of the ethics of campaigning as an elected official. Commissioner James.
Okay, thank you. It's well understood that the get out the vote efforts are critical to a successful campaign. That said, the ethical requirements of a city commissioner are not suspended due to an ongoing campaign. The issue at hand is not the placard. That's campaign information. The issue is using non-public information to incite action. And what I'm pointing out is that that is not appropriate. It's a violation of the WPD Board Code of Ethics. The information that was used to prepare this was incited by an email that was widely disseminated because it found its way to me, and multiple people began calling me, hey, what's going on with the dog beach closure? And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I had to do some digging, but there's an email from March 16th at 4:10 p.m. written by Commissioner Root from her personal email address, which is perfectly appropriate for campaign issues, to Mary Garrison, Steve Juliuson, and Kay Whitchurch, and subject, urgent, Centennial Dog Beach's future. Your voice matters. Winnetka Park District Board meeting Thursday, March 26 p.m. I won't read it all, but it says, you know, what's at stake? The dog beach is once again in jeopardy and up for review and vote at the Winnetka Park District Board meeting this Thursday, March 20th at 6 p.m. Number one, and I'm skipping forward, close Centennial Dog Beach permanently, all bold, underline. Call me a cynic, but I fear the board majority may prefer this conclusion. Number two, enforce an on-leash rule. Number three, installing fence to contain dogs. Honestly, I had no idea where this was coming from until I dug into the board packet. The board packet, a preliminary packet, is issued to board members on Friday before the board meeting so that you have an opportunity to review the contents, opine as to the appropriateness of anything within that or anything you'd like to add. And then the formal board packet is released on Tuesday to the public. This was non-public information that we use to incite action in advance of an election. That's what the purpose of this discussion is. We're not here to censure Commissioner Root. We're here to have a conversation about the boundaries that we as board members should respect and not unnecessarily antagonize our neighbors. And I referenced earlier in this meeting that there were 3 specific actions that took place. The most significant change in the Lakefront Master Plan was to reincorporate the dog beach. And that was enacted by unanimous vote on October 27, 2022, 2.5 years ago. We affirmed that in a formal resolution with specific plans that met the criteria established in October. We did that in May of 2023. We made further amendments to those plans to address the village's changes of the ordinance, but we kept the dog beach. And that was affirmed in October of 23. At no time did we ever consider closing the dog beach. Now, Executive Director Nizal, I'm not trying to throw her under the bus, but she wasn't here for some of those meetings. She was new. So one of the logical assumptions is, yeah, it's in the universe of possibilities, closing the dog beach is one of those options. It was listed as number 3 on Shannon's original draft memo. When I saw it, I obviously understood, oh, this is the source of the controversy, and I contacted Shannon, Executive Director Nizal, and said, hey, this is causing quite a stir. There's no basis for this action. Let's not agitate. Let's amend this memo before we release it to the public. I contacted President Cotto, and that's how this, so you'll see in my board packet that there were 2 versions of this memo, one that includes number 3, remove dog beach entirely, convert it to a public beach, and the final draft that was published and released to the public does not include that as an option. That's the source of this controversy. Look, there were many things that were said. There was a discussion of, and I'm moving on to the second topic, there was a discussion of bond rating. The last time the Park District was rated by the bond agencies, we were AAA, mostly because we're sitting on a pile of reserves. I understand that we're too small of an entity to rate any further, but we weren't downgraded. We still are sitting on a pile of reserves and are in excellent, outstanding financial condition, but that information was propagated falsely. And then I get to why we're running, and that's a little more personal to me. And there was a campaign piece that was put out that was just titled, Why We're Running, Restoring Transparency and Protecting Our Lakefront. Now, I'm going to pass this out to my fellow board members, along with, on the backside, my response. And I would ask that the board members consider both points of view. Why we're running, as propagated by Ruth, Juliuson, and Garrison, and my response. Because I found that why we're running to be replete with misinformation and falsehoods. And I found it, even though I wasn't referenced, if anybody knows what's going on of late, I found it very personally offensive. I put my heart and soul for more than 10 years into advancing the interests of this community. I choose my words carefully and make sure that when I'm speaking factually. I was firsthand in those negotiations. I know what went down. I also know what was said in the closed session meetings. I'll just read you one small portion of this response. I can find it. Fortunately, all meetings of the Winnetka Park District are recorded, including closed sessions. Thus, the true nature of the negotiations and decisions of the Winnetka Park District are captured on tape and in the minutes of the meetings. Now, this board has acted before to ensure that those tape recordings are not destroyed. It's very important to me, because I'm well aware of false, defamatory, and horrible accusations that have been made about me and John Peterson. These are lies. These are outrageous lies, false and defamatory. And I want the record corrected. I have worked very diligently to find solutions to meet the needs of this community. And I don't care to be disparaged by my fellow board members or by members of the community. Alan, I'll agree with you in this much. A lie repeated often enough becomes accepted as the truth. There are a lot of lies out there. So I'd like to circulate this to council, Edie Nizal, and my fellow board members, and you guys can read both and decide which is more accurate. But I think there has to be, I would encourage this board to consider amending or adopting a code of, an addition to the code of ethics that addresses the conduct of a sitting board member, because we're not allowed to divulge the true nature. We're not allowed to divulge, private, confidential information. And yet, when it's mischaracterized and misstated, it puts you in a very unenviable position. So I'm going to circulate this, and then open the floor to further discussion. Thank you for hearing me out.
Do you want me to make
I have a minute to.
I don't want you guys to respond to this tonight.
Okay, so
I
you
would
want us to read it now?
I want you to read it on your own time, and if it merits further discussion in May, fine. Otherwise, just know that it's out there. Okay?
So we'll go around the circle.
Oh, wait a minute here. This is directed at me personally, and I
Right.
think I
So-
have the opportunity.
Right. Do you want to speak last?
No,
Do you
I
wanna
want to
hear what
speak
everyone
right
else? Do we want to hear what everyone else has to say?
No, I want to speak right now.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
I'm going to be very direct. Everything that the Open Beaches, Open Land, Open Government slate of Mary Garrison, Steve Joyson, and me, everything that we talked about was in the public record. As an attorney, I was very, very careful. And Commissioner James, I'm sorry that you took this personally, because that was not our focus. When we campaigned, our focus was to look at the 2024-2025 Caucus Parks platform and to run on that platform. And the planks were very clear. They wanted an interim plan to get Elder Beach open. They wanted either renegotiation or they wanted cancellation of the restrictive covenant associated with the gift of Centennial Park. There was a desire for organic technology to be implemented and used on our park land. There was a desire that we respect open lands and work with the Green Bay Trail. And then finally, there was really a mandate that we work collaboratively with our village for the best interest of our community. This was our platform, and this is what we were focused on. Unfortunately, our website was not updated. So when someone looked at bond rating on our website, they saw it was listed as AA1, and that became the response as to the downgrade of the bond rating.
But that's solved by no one came to us. Not one person came to us and said,
Okay.
is this true?
Now-
Not one person Googled Moody's. This is a
They
frustration.
did Google Moody's, and unfortunately, they had the wrong information. But this was a campaign, and in this campaign, I was thrown under the bus by you, Commissioner Cotto. I was thrown under the bus by you, Commissioner James. In fact, I had been a caucus slated candidate along with my new commissioner colleagues who are sitting out here. And before we could actually talk, the 1-2-4 slate appeared, and it was Freddie Johnson, who I've grown to know and really like, who his petition came in as number 4 before anybody else started running. So that the second slate, the Open Beaches, Open Land, Open Park slate, was in reaction to realizing that as a sitting commissioner, yes, we've had differences, but I would like to think that we also have agreed on many, many things during the past 4 years, was simply thrown under the bus, and I have here this evening. It was after the fall town hall meeting. In fact, the date of this email from you, President Cotto, is dated October 30th, 2024. Friends, I'm pleased to report that Elise Duda and Scott Corley, slated by the Winnetka Caucus have secured the following supporting endorsements. And here we go. We have Brad McLean, Ian Larkin, Teresa Claybrook, Mickey Archibald, Warren James listed as president and commissioner, the dates that you were, Christina Cotto, president and commissioner, the dates. You, Commissioner Tyson, again, commissioner. I expect additional endorsements will be forthcoming. The third candidate slated is not endorsed because she was censured for the remainder of her term from April 25th, 2024 through April 25th, 2025 for 21 violations of the Code of Ethics, which, when the PAC came in and started doing some research on it, you signed an affidavit saying that you wrote all 23 of those. You sabotaged me a year ago, really tonight, with that censure. I had no opportunity to defend myself or to speak. This sort of communication continued throughout this campaign. And I look at all this, and I'm sorry, Commissioner James, that you took anything we did personally because it was not intended. I did not take a campaign personally. And last Tuesday, this election was certified. We have new commissioners sitting out here. They have been elected. I have been elected. We have an opportunity to move this district forward, or we can continue this sort of backbiting and mudslip. My second meeting, Commissioner James, was August of 2021. You hauled me into that kitchen and you said to me, you are a toxic force on this board, you need to resign.
Okay, I'm going to
You
stop.
did it. Wait a
No,
minute.
I'm going to stop this conversation
This
because
needs
we
to
are
stop.
we are rehashing old information. If this, I think that the focus of this particular conversation is sharing confidential information. The confidential board packet that was posted for the board, that is confidential, that is a draft, is not to be shared. It's happened on a number of occasions, and you shared it to your advantage. You shared it from your personal email. The reason that we have public emails is that when you sign your name as a commissioner and you say you are a sitting commissioner, you are creating public records. You have consistently worked around your censure the entire time that you have been censured.
How have I done that?
Because you have sent Park District business emails from your personal email.
How do you, I'm sorry, I have.
This is a perfect example right here.
This is an electioneering email.
I want to clarify. The purpose of this is to discuss, and I hope that the discussion will continue, so that the board can arrive at some brighter guidelines as to what is permissible and what is not. I was deeply offended by many of the campaign promises or information that was contained in these, patently false. For over a century, the Winnetka Park District is aimed to connect Elder and Centennial beaches. That's the first sentence. Elder's been around for 56 years, so clearly that's false. My point is, let's have some time to reflect. It was not meant to be, it was meant to point out that this was another ethics breach, clearly, because you published non-public information, but I think the larger discussion should be over what's appropriate, what's not.
Going forward.
We all know confidential information. We're not at liberty to discuss real estate negotiations, litigation strategy. These are things that are supposed to and are appropriately held in confidence. But when you go into listing things that are clearly wrong, that you weren't in those negotiations, I was, and I read this and go, wow, this is false, and it paints me out to be in a pretty bad situation. I'm just saying, I would like, and I would suggest that this board put some limits on what can and should be expressed by a sitting commissioner. You want to say whatever you want as a member of the public, that's your right. We know there's lots of rubbish out there, but let's have some guardrails or some guideposts for what's appropriate as a sitting commissioner.
Can I make a comment as
Yes,
the
we're going to go
commissioner?
around the circle.
Yeah, listen, Commissioner, this isn't joyous. This isn't like, it creates tension in my life, but I do believe in ethics. This is not a freedom of speech issue. This is not a censure. This is, you used your personal email. It appears to communicate to a significant number of members of the community what was to be confidential information about the dog beach. I have only been back on the board for 2 months, but I have, in any of my discussions around the community and with commissioners while I was off the board, I never heard one discussion about closing the dog beach. It was, to me, and why I seconded to put this item on the board, it was clearly, I consider it unethical. Listen, you work really hard. You're very well-spoken, intelligent, you're a lawyer. I'm sure you're a wonderful mother and grandmother and wife and community member, but it doesn't, in my view, it doesn't excuse this continued unethical behavior. Listen, I have received emails to my personal email from commissioners while I've been on the board. I said, you know what? It's added wrong, it just loaded. I just forwarded it right to my Park District email because I don't want to be accused of, hey, Siemens using his personal email to communicate with various commissioners. Nope, I'm forwarding it right to my Park District email. So that's why when I spoke to Commissioner James, I said, yes, listen, we have to be ethical. There is no code of ethics for people in the community and public, but there is for members of this board. I don't ever want to have these discussions again for any board member. I hope this is the last one, and I'm hopeful that with 2 new board members, that we will move respectfully and ethically together to support the community and the agency. So this is a discussion. It needs to be had, and I hope it's the last one that we have. But thank you.
Commissioner Tyson?
Not much to add. I hate that we're having this discussion.
I don't think you do.
Commissioner Tyson has the floor.
However,
I understand that.
the email is right there in black and white. You can't really argue with it. It's right there. So, and that's very troubling.
Commissioner Lawson?
I would advise the board going forward just to, again, reiterate the ethical policies of the board members. I think whether you're in a public or private environment, confidential information can't be shared. When we start getting inundated with emails from concerned residents, rightfully so, on that following Monday, as they're hitting my inbox for the Park District, I'm staring at my phone wondering, what are they talking about? This has never been, Warren, what was the date, 2023? 2022?
2022.
I mean,
October 22.
This is a closed case. Park District, the dog beach is not going anywhere. Done. I don't think we can talk about it anymore. I think it inflames a community that in bad times is reflective of our national environment for broad-based politics. And that's the unfortunate part. And this is not a censor request. Bring it to attention, and it could easily be resolved with acknowledgement of a mistake and a public apology. Thank you.
Commissioner Rapp?
Okay. While I can appreciate the disappointment of some current members of this board and incoming members in the recent election at perception of the results. It is now our mandate to come together to work for the benefit of the community in as harmonious a fashion as possible. That's the important thing. I deliberately did not take a public position in the recent election, as I seek to work effectively with everyone around this table and residents and representation to the best of my ability, including our new commissioners. We are all volunteers and human, and things will not always be perfectly executed. I can certainly think of instances where individuals around this table, myself included, have done things that, in light of further learning and education, as we all evolve, were not fully in line with best practice in running for office or executing duty as a commissioner. I will not enumerate further, as I don't believe it is constructive, but I think each of us would benefit from some personal reflection on that, just to think, we've all made mistakes at times. We've all done things, that have not been perfect, and that's something that is just part of being human and part of being a volunteer. I definitely fully support further development of our shared ethics. I've felt that way for a long time. I think that could be a very productive exercise as a board. I know we had started the dialogue. I know I'd shared with our executive director the village ordinances on that, which I think are helpful as a starting point. While keeping my distance, I observed actions from both sides that were concerning, hurtful, and I hope that we can move beyond those and move forward in a spirit of cooperation and civility. Having lived through an election process that was not especially pretty, I have grown in my appreciation for the existence of the Winnetka Caucus and the difficult task they have before them in this specific election cycle. I am reminded of the advice of former village manager Doug Williams, and certainly echoed by Commissioner James and former trustee Kripe. Be hard on the issues, but soft on the people. Be very, very hard on the issues, but soft on the people. And I think that's an important thing to remember as we move forward, that the issues are the thing to be hard on, but treating each other with kindness and respect is also very important as we move forward. On the specifics of the topic at hand, I certainly don't condone the release of draft board packets or information contained therein. I would note that some limited information was included in the regular district communication, which may have also prompted some questions. As a commissioner, my expectation is definitely the information of a highly confidential nature is clearly identified and restricted from distribution. So I would say this item was not. I'll cover my reaction later. Though I think a better approach, and what I tend to do, is direct interested individuals to the meeting materials when it's released as a public announcement to everyone around this table, and also to the viewers at home. It is possible to sign up on Diligent for meeting alerts when the agenda is published so that they're pushed to your inbox. I know that we are very much under the, very close to the 48 hours. I hope that as we grow as an organization, we could maybe give people a little bit more time, but I always try to direct people to that. On this particular topic, changes to Centennial Park, this is an identified hot button for the community and the proverbial third rail of the Park District. I think that there would be general agreement on that, and I think that potentially in this case a separate communication to commissioners explaining this, and with a more defined public engagement plan, would have gone a long way. I fully admit my surprise and shock seeing it in the advance packet for the first time. I thought, oh my goodness, what is this? So I definitely had that experience. It's unclear to me whether there was a communication plan ahead of time or that emerged in response to these inquiries, but I viewed the subsequent news release and resident communication and also the movement of this topic for discussion to an earlier time in the agenda as positive overall. So I definitely think for this, it would have been helpful to be a little bit more ahead of it, but I think in the end, I thought that our executive director did a really outstanding job kind of rallying and communicating directly with the public and making sure that people knew that we were discussing it. So I think that that was very helpful. So our community is not well served by echo chambers, partisanship, or selective sharing of information, and I think clear communication promotes civility and can sometimes turn perceived adversaries into allies because we are all collectively working for the benefit of our residents. I think that's why we all show up, even though things are uncomfortable and ugly and we have to have a lot of difficult conversations, but I think we also take a lot of pride and joy in the work that we've accomplished. We've had, we've had a few wins. I think that the reopening of Crow Island Woods on the horizon in time, for a good chunk of the summer, like that's a win, and we should feel good about that. Going forward with the seating of the 2 new commissioners, it is my sincere hope that we can be working together more effectively as a board. Doug Williams also said in his departure letter, which Warren shared with me, and it has so many gems in it, as a 40-year plus student of local government, I can tell you with certainty that voters get the government they deserve. And Winnetka deserves the very best. Having come through a very difficult election cycle with very strong turnout for a local election, as evidenced by the selection of 3 outstanding, dedicated, and devoted commissioners, 2 yet to prove themselves, but I'm sure that they will rise to the occasion joining this group, and having the fortitude to join this group after enduring several of these meetings now. I hope that this board can deliver the very best for all Winnetka Park District residents, and I'm moving forward with hope and optimism toward that goal, and certainly hope others are on the same trajectory.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think that was very complete and very thorough. I expect more. You've been on this board for 4 years. I expect accuracy. I expect note-taking. I expect verifying facts before they're printed with your name. I echo Commissioner Lawson's call for an apology.
Nothing further.
At this point,
Madam Chair, will you apologize to me for the many communications that you have sent out where you have attached a censure document that you drafted, where you never gave me prior notice, where you never gave me the opportunity to speak in my defense? Will you apologize to me for taking away my ability to effectively act as a commissioner for an entire year? When you censured me, last year I said, I will accept the reprimand. I'll accept it. I mean, you like to beat up on me. You've done a good job of it in the first 4 years, and I'll accept it. But I do not accept that you had the authority to remove my ability to do my job. I didn't have access to park email. That was taken away from me. I was even told that I could not communicate with our fantastic new executive director, that was a communication with staff. I was not allowed to secure information. I think that was a legal violation, and I thought tonight if you are going to continue that, I can assure you I will take that to a legal challenge, because that is very, very wrong. Now, one final thing, and I will shut up. But here is the situation. We have one board meeting a month. The packet is published 48 hours before. When I saw the preliminary packet I actually saw it Saturday morning, and I saw that we were even contemplating the possible closure of the dog beach. When I realized what that meant to so many people in this community, I thought that we as commissioners have an obligation for adequate public notice to our community, particularly, and this was in my comments, when the changes to access, use, or function of a public amenity are under consideration. Reliance on a Tuesday night agenda for Thursday deliberation, and we don't even discuss it, and then wait a month to pass it. No. It's a motion, it's discussed, and boom, and if you blink and you're out in the community, you miss it. To me, this is not adequate public notice, and I hope that with this new board, we will consider a return to having a committee of the whole process where we can talk about major changes to amenities, major policy moves, and then move forward in a period of 2 weeks or so to take the matter for vote. To the extent, as I said, Commissioner James, that you thought anything was personalized in our campaign, it was not intended as such. We really were focused on policy, we were focused on issues, and in particular, we were focused on what caucus has asked this district to do.
I'll circulate this and I'll let the board decide which is more accurate to the events that occurred here.
So Commissioner Root, do you apologize for sending out non-public information or not?
I don't view
That's not my question.
closure, I don't view what was sent out. First of all, I did not attach anything out of the preliminary packet. I didn't.
The whole
You're
substance
ducking
of the
the
message.
entire thing.
Don't need to.
You said at the beginning of this meeting, you said, let's take the high road. I agree with you. All I'm asking for is, can you apologize for sending out non-public information or not? Are you capable of apologizing?
Well, I'm going to answer that. I certainly am capable of apologizing, but I think I'm also owed an apology because of what happened a year ago and the fact that I had commissioners who had planned statements where they had no personal knowledge of the matter that they were discussing. And yet they censured and criticized me. And I'm looking at you, Jeff Tyson, because you were one. And so I will apologize to this board if you felt that I had violated confidentiality. That was not my intent at all. My intent was that this is an amenity that is so important to so many people, and I wanted them to be aware that there could possibly be changes. In fact, our Executive Director Nizal, you had that listed in your March 14th weekly report, and that's where I first saw it. And so I was rather attuned when the draft agenda came out, whatever, I'll say March 16th. Anyway, to the extent that I have offended anyone with that notice, as far as what was happening on the Dog Beach, I apologize. I am very, very pleased to see that when the packet did come out, closure was removed. And the cynic in me will say, we have one South Winnetka Beach that has been closed by 5 years. I was wondering if there was going to be an intent to close another South Winnetka Beach to use it as a form of leverage. And so you'll have to excuse me, but after what I have endured from certain commissioners for the past 4 years, I am very suspicious. But I am hopeful.
So I guess my question would be, why didn't you come to any other commissioner? Because the frustration with this board is that you took it public, as you have taken many things public, and you never came directly to this board. We are 1/7 of a decision-making body, each of us. We only decide things collectively. You can come to us as fellow commissioners and say, Christina, did we get downgraded? Can this be right? And I would say, no, let me show you, let me share with you the thing. You sat here when we were upgraded. A downgrade would have been an event that would have been announced at a meeting. You sat here when we passed these resolutions. You voted for these resolutions. They were unanimous. You didn't come back to anyone and say, can this be right? Before I put my name to this, can I double check this? I'm going to check my notes. I'm going to check the board packets. I'm going to triple check. Instead, you went immediately public with incorrect information. This is what is so frustrating for people on this board.
The intent was to have people advised that there were possible changes, and we talked about those changes during the March 4th meeting, to the Dog Beach. That was the intent. And again, President Cotto, how can I come to you when you sabotaged me, when you misrepresented about me? I mean, it has been a very difficult year, and I have tried to be an effective commissioner, and I've worked very hard. But we are moving forward, I hope. In fact, one of the policy changes I would like to see is to have our new boards sworn in after their election. We certified this election on the 22nd. Why is it we have 2 board meetings before our new elected officers take their chairs?
So I want to focus on the topic
Yeah,
here.
I do want to respond.
Go ahead.
I was president of this park board for 2 years, and these were very contentious times with difficult issues. I sought counsel from the Illinois Association of Park Districts and General Counsel, Jason Anselman, in an hour-long conversation with then our counsel, Steve Adams. I employed his recommendations to no avail. I engaged with Peter Murphy, president of the IAPD. I employed his recommendations to no avail. I went through, had Mickey Archambault go through the Code of Ethics, 45 minutes. Mickey, past president, led this so everyone could have a clear understanding. No avail. We held a special meeting as permitted, closed session, facilitated by Peter Murphy, president of IAPD, to help foster better board conduct and behavior, to no avail. On December 19th, after the park board had modified and approved its plans, on December 19th of 2023, Commissioner Root appeared before the Village of Winnetka, holding up a set of plans that was inconsistent with what we had recently approved. And she openly advocated that the Board of Trustees consider these plans. I think they're darn good. Even then, we were agog. There was discussion at the board level, Board of Trustees, is this appropriate to appear before, as an elected official, say you're just a resident? You can't disassociate your role as a resident from your role as a commissioner. You give up certain privileges. I've held my tongue on many issues. I have not appeared before the village because I wasn't appointed to do that. And then finally, in April of the following year, we were forwarded emails by the village that Commissioner Root had sent to each of the trustees, urging consideration of an alternate plan.
With all due respect, it was one email.
That is why this board acted in April to censure Commissioner Root and cited 21 ethics violations, because she actively opposed the approved plans. This was a vote of the majority. So we don't always agree, but we accept the majority vote, and that is paramount importance to the proper function
Commissioner
of the
James,
board.
why do you continue this? You went
Because
through this
you
last year.
were asserting that
You
your
have
censure was
beaten me
inappropriate.
for 4 years.
Your censure was very much appropriate, and
Why,
This-
actually,
Okay.
if it was
I
so
think
appropriate, why was there not prior notice to me? Why did you fail to give Commissioner Rapp notice? Why did you not give me the opportunity to defend myself?
I think we've aired all of these concerns before. I think the matter that we're discussing now is the most recent
We're going
violation.
back
That's fine.
to-
I'm
you maintained
ending.
that you were inappropriately censured.
Yeah.
I explained to the public why you were censured, because you didn't fail to abide by the majority vote of the board, and you sought to undermine the work of this board.
All right,
That's
I'd like to bring this to a close. I'd like to say that there was forwarding of non-public information, and I echo Eric's request for an apology. And if none is forthcoming, then on behalf of this board, I apologize for the unethical behavior of Commissioner Root.
Do you apologize for your own unethical behavior?
I do not believe my behavior was unethical. It was a recitation of your actions. And 5 other people on this board agreed.
A recitation of actions that
Your actions.
you unilaterally authored without an opportunity for the individual to stand up and clarify?
You were
and to
notified
respond.
repeatedly over 3 years of the inappropriateness of your actions. I'm bringing this to a close now.
Hey, can
We're
I make an
moving on.
apology?
Yes.
I want to make an apology. I used 4-letter words in closed session, so whenever those things ever get released,
Yeah.
there's a couple of instances where I used 4-letter words in closed session.
All right, we're moving on to the executive director's report. Shannon?
Okay, so you have our weekly status reports, the legal expenses, and the report from the Winnetka Golf Club, and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Anyone else? Okay. Any additional questions for Janet? Excuse me, go ahead.
I just want to communicate publicly how much I appreciate the weekly status reports, how thorough they are, how fantastic the tone is, how much I appreciate your communications to staff, how you directly address issues that might feel uncomfortable in a light-hearted and accessible and approachable way. So I just want to recognize also the effort of staff. I know before when we raised this thought, everyone's like, no, we can't do weekly reports, but I just want to let you know how much they are really and truly appreciated. And I know that they don't get magicked up. I know people think thoughtfully about them. I also appreciate Kate's reports. It's very helpful to know the marketing plan. It's very helpful to see things coming to fruition in physical product. Hopefully the community is amazed. I know that when these come out, it's so exciting to see your kids in a Park District picture. So I just wanted to express some gratitude for the
They were actually
executive.
making fun of me because I was jumping around because I was so excited.
But that's good. That's great. Like it makes me feel good about being on this board to hear things like that. That happy things are happening.
Yes.
I know that this meeting is not one of them. Hopefully, people for whom this is their first meeting, you're starting at the bottom. We're going to be going uphill in a positive, view-finding way. So, but thank you. I just wanted to share how wonderful they are.
Excellent. Okay, item number 8, commissioner comments. I'm going to start. Have you made all your comments?
Me? Run out of words? This is my penultimate meeting. I'm hoping that May 22nd will be a positive one. That's why I brought these issues to the fore tonight. I want to address the very real issues that we're trying to solve to reopen Elder and Centennial. First of all, I want to remind everyone it is unsafe to go in the water. There are submerged hazards that can cut you or hurt you badly, please. And if anybody's wondering, it's worse at Centennial than it is at Elder. But Elder's littered with pieces of metal and concrete. Don't go in. The second is that one of the primary caucus recommendations was intergovernmental cooperation. That's a two-way street. We are an elected body. We're a separate unit of government. We have fiduciary responsibilities, taxing authority, staff, council, subject to the OMA. We determine what is in the best interest of the park districts and our constituents. Our jurisdiction exceeds that of the village. There's some 14,000 residents of the Winnetka Park District. The fact that the Winnetka Park District has to go through a special use permit process for a temporary fence is one that is promulgated by the village by choice, because they do not have a proper zoning classification for parks, open space, and institutional uses. That's the only reason that we couldn't decide amongst ourselves as a board, being properly elected, and have spent 10 years studying the matters, and advance a permit. So the reason why this community is going through such hardship is because the process is tortured. And I would urge the community again to revisit the zoning ordinance, like Hinsdale, like Lake Forest. These are very similar communities that have a parks department and proper zoning classification for open space. It's much more streamlined. So I've used up my 3 minutes. We have real solutions. They're competent, qualified experts that have developed them. Let's give it a proper hearing and get these beaches repaired, improved, and reopened to the public.
Commissioner Rapp.
Very short commissioner comments. First, I want to thank Edie Nazal, Jim Crocker, and Commissioner Tyson for a very highly efficient review of the credit card questions that I had, and I think we have a path forward that sounds terrific. So I just wanted to say thank you. I also wanted to make sure that other commissioners were aware that I have asked for a copy of the 2024 vendor report. So Edie Nazal will be distributing that, but I didn't want any of my demands to be in secret. So I want to make sure everyone is okay with that. I think it's helpful information. I'm happy to explain to new commissioners how any of these crazy things that I asked for are used at any point, or at least how I use them. I do want to just give a warm welcome to Lisa. She's still hanging in there. Hopefully closed session won't be too long. So just, and also a warm welcome to the new commissioners. It's a good sign. You're building your stamina. So thank you. And there we go.
Commissioner Lawson.
We all make mistakes, personally, professionally. And Commissioner Root, I would love to just ask you one last time, if you could just please apologize for sending out that information. It's my only request. Thank you.
Commissioner Tyson.
Nothing to.
Commissioner Root.
This district has a choice. We can move forward in a very positive, friendly, and congenial way, or we can continue the pattern that has transpired over the last 4 years. We're very fortunate tonight. I said it earlier and I mean it. We've got some dynamite new commissioners out there, and I'm really looking forward to working with you. The campaign was contentious, it was ugly, it was nasty. I felt that certain commissioners at this table went out of their way to impugn my character time and time again. And now I am asked to apologize because I was trying to give notice to the public about an amenity that is important to many. It was, I don't know how we conflated that to permanent closure of the dog beach and the fact that we had voted on a plan that we'd put a 170-foot fenced dog beach to what I was writing, because that was not what was addressed. It was the three options, and one of them was closure. And the fact that that was released and you view that as a violation of confidentiality, I do apologize for. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry if you were inconvenienced by that. But at the same time, we're down to one board meeting a month. That is an apology. We're down to one board meeting a month, and we have 48 hours notice for the public to try to sort through what is going on and to catch everything. So, again, welcome. Can't wait to have a new board and a new start. Thank you.
Commissioner Seaman.
The Barry Dunn survey results were fantastic. This park district, the staff, does a great job. I remember making comments when I was on the other side of the microphone. This park district is filled with good people that do great things for this community every day. And when we have certain, perhaps unintentional communications to the community that sow the seeds of distrust, it's terribly, terribly negatively impactful to this agency, staff, and board. And I want to actually look forward to coming to these board meetings. this is not choice when we have that item on there, but I hope it's the last one. I too welcome the 2 new commissioners. New blood is fantastic. And I look forward to a productive 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone who spoke. I want to thank everyone who struggled with the issues that we face. I want to thank everyone for their perseverance and their energy. Thank you very much. I'd like a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
That's, say it again?
You gotta let her finish the citation.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, hold on.
So moved.
They all know what's coming. May I have a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. That was
So moved.
Seaman and Lawson. And that's a roll call vote.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Foil?
Yes. Time is 9:20.